never believe it. We have a quorum. So this meeting is going to come to order. Good morning. This is a meeting of the Los Angeles City Council on Tuesday. Rush jumping the, it's because yesterday it didn't feel like Monday. On Tuesday, May 16th, 2000. The council meets on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday at more or less 10 o'clock. We like to be accurate here. We are being viewed on Channel 35. We are also available by council phone. What else have I left out? That seems to be it. All right. First item, Madam Clerk. Call the roll.
Bernstein, Chick, Fier, Galanter, Goldberg, Hernandez, Holden, Miskowski, Pacheco, Padilla, Ridley, Thomas, Swarnich, Wax, Walters, Ferraro, 11 members present and a quorum, Madam President.
Okay. First item.
Approval of the minutes.
Mr. Fewer moves. Ms. Mizikowski seconds. Unanimous vote.
Commendatory resolutions for approval.
Without objection, unanimous vote.
Before beginning the regular agenda, there's a request from Council District 6 to continue item number 3
Yes,
for 1
please.
month to June 16th.
Any objection to that continuance? Thank you. That will be continued.
And the city attorney has advised that item number 33, it's a closed session item, should be withdrawn and referred
Referred
to the city attorney.
to the city attorney's office. All right. Without objection, item 33 will be withdrawn from today's agenda.
The
Anything else?
next items notice for public hearings. Item 1 is an ordinance. Do you wish to hold those on the desk until?
Till we have 12 members, yes. We have quite a few ordinances, and we might as well
Item
proceed through.
number 2 is a required public hearing. It's a street vacation in Council District 2.
And do we have any cards? We do not. We'll formally open the public hearing on item 2. Having no speakers, we will close the public hearing on item 2, and the matter is then before us.
I need a motion from the floor to instruct the engineer to proceed with the vacation.
All right, that's in
Council District 2.
Council District 2. Mr. Wax will move. Is that correct? Mr. Savornich seconds. Open the roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
11 eyes.
That is approved. Next item.
Item number 4 is also a required public hearing item. It's a building and safety confirmation of assessment at 5715 South Normandy.
We have no cards on that one either, and Mrs. Walters is not here, so I presume... There you are. Would you like to move item 4? Building and safety assessment in your district. Ms. Walters moves. Mr. Wax seconds. Open the roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the
12
vote.
eyes.
That is approved. Next item.
Madam President, do you wish to go back to item number 1? It's a
Now that we have 12 people, we might
Bureau of
as well.
Street Lighting report and abandoning ordinances for 3 street lighting districts.
All right, item 1 is before us. Is there anybody in the public who wishes to be heard? Seeing none, the public hearing is closed on that. Any council members? And why can't I get a speaker queue up here? Well, I'll assume nobody wishes to be heard since I can't make, oh, there it is, all right. Open the roll on item 1, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 eyes.
That is approved. Next item.
Item number 5 is a veto message from the mayor, 10 votes to consider.
I'm sorry? What? Special. Mr. Holden has called that special. Maybe we should go through and pick out whatever. Yeah, let's go through the agenda and go back.
Next items for which public hearings have been held, items 6 through 10. On item number 7, there's 2 reports on the file.
Okay, we're not up to that yet. All right, we have a motion to approve the Budget and Finance Report on 7B. All right, Mr. Holden wants item 7 called special. Next item. Wait, we had, that was 6 through 10, right?
6 through 10, do you wish to vote
All
on
right, so
the-
7 is special. Any other specials, 6 through 10? Okay, open the roll on 6, 8, 9, and 10. Close the roll. What-
Madam Chair, excuse me, on
Yes.
9, This item has already been changed. I brought an ordinance in in April to change this, so perhaps you want to just hold off. We spoke to Mr. Burnson. Did we speak to Burnson? And that was, I think that was fine with him.
Well, what are you suggesting, that we note and file item 9, or that we
Yes,
just hold it on the desk?
Note and file it.
All right.
It's not necessary.
And is there,
I think what happened was that in April, Mr. Burnson asked that the change be made. I made the change, but in the meantime, previously to that, he had a motion that had gone
All
through
right.
Transportation
So
Committee. This
that-
is duplicative of that.
all right, so that, okay. In that case, without objection, we're going to note and file item, receive and file item 9, and we will now try again and open the roll on 6, 8, and 10. Open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 eyes.
Those are approved. Moving right along,
Items for which public hearings have not been held, items 11 through 31, those are 10-vote to consider items.
all right, now let's first have 10 votes on whether to consider these. Is there any objection to considering these?
11 to 31.
No, we're not up to calling them special yet. We're just, all right, this is, say again, please, the numbers 11 through
31.
31. Is there any objection to bringing those items before us? And then we'll call them special, if they're not before us, okay?
Well, on item 14, I just want to move the ad hoc committee report.
Well, we have to get it before us
Okay.
first, and we don't want Mr. Holden to get upset if we forget to have the 10 votes to consider them. So,
Okay.
okay, open the roll on consideration of all those items. Yes? We'll get to that in a second. We have to get them in front of us first. Okay, close the roll. Those are now in front of us. Now, Mrs. Walters would like to receive and file item 27. Mrs. Chick, you had, all right. Now, are there any specials?
Madam Chair?
Yes. 11 to 31.
Yes. First, I'd like to move 24B.
All right.
I concur so that Mr. Holden doesn't call it special.
Thank you, Mr. Hernandez.
All right.
Secondly, I'd like to call 28 special, please.
And 28 special, okay. I heard 2 over here. Which ones have we got here? 24? All right, Joel is calling 24 special.
25.
Mr. Savornich, 25.
Thank you.
Mr. Fewer, 28. 14, Ms. Mizakowski.
Oh, okay.
Hold on, no, hang on a second. We have a card on 14, but we'll get to that when we do the specials. And we have a card on 34, we're not up to that. Okay. All right, so we're now going to open the roll on...
Madam Chair,
Nope.
is there somebody, I noticed on 24, it says see motion 27, on 27, it says see item 24, so I'm not sure whether we need to also call 20.
No, we were receiving and file item 27.
Oh, I couldn't figure out why it had to be,
At the time, they were together, but now we revised item 24.
okay, so 24 is the only one I was
Yeah,
concerned.
All right,
and we're
so we
voting
got-
on Exhibit B revised as part of 24.
Okay, we all clear? So now we're going to open the roll on,
Items 11, 12, 13, 15, 16, 17, 18, there's 2 items on there, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 26, 29, 30, and 31.
everybody got that? And on 18, we need to choose which one of those is before us. I can't turn pages that fast.
Madam President, item number 18, there should be 2 votes taken on that. There's an...
All right, let's
section
call
A
that
and B.
special, and then we'll do those when we get to it. Okay, open the roll on all those other ones. Close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 eyes.
Those are approved. Now, moving right along, what's next?
Madam Chair, just,
Yeah.
I thought on 24, does Mr. Wax still want to call 24 special, or are we under control? Oh, you do, I'm sorry, okay.
Yeah, the specials are 14, so far we have 5, 7, 14, 24, 25, and 28.
Okay.
And 18, because we have to straighten that out. Okay, next item.
The next items are closed session items. Do you wish to
We'll
hold
hold those on the desk.
Item number 34 is another veto message.
All right. Well, are we expecting anybody else? Oh, well, where is he? I know it's not 10:30 yet, and we're usually not this far along, but, okay, we'll hold that. I left my gavel over there. All right, we're holding 34 on the desk.
Items 35 through 39 on the supplemental page are items for which public hearings have been held and their ordinances.
All right, are there any specials, item 35 through 39? 35, 36. All right, so we have then before us,
37, 38, and 39.
I'm just checking, we don't have any. Sorry, which one? 37 is called special by Mr. Holden. So now we have 38 and 39 before us. Anybody for those? Okay. Open the roll on 38 and 39, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Those are approved. Okay, next item.
Item 40, item for which public hearing has not been held. It's a continued motion. Burnson Goldberg.
Madam Chair, on
Mr.
behalf...
Feuer.
It's Mr. Burnson's motion. On his behalf, I call it special. His staff requested that.
All right, we'll call 40 special.
They just asked me to call it special.
Okay, is he coming?
Yeah.
Mike, is
Pardon
he
me?
coming?
Yes.
All right. Okay, now we're back to item
number
5.
5.
And,
And this is a 10 vote to consider item.
all right, so we need... No, we did it for 6 through something. So item 5, Mr. Holden had called special. We need 10 votes to consider it first. So let's open the roll on consideration. Well, if you look at the agenda, I'm sure you'll figure it out. It's a veto message.
I just call it special because I wanted to have a full body. And then Mr. Burnson came in, and Mr. Thomas was going to come in. I thought it was appropriate to have them all going to be present and voting.
Well, he's in the back. Let's get him in here, and everybody will be present except Mr.
All
Farrar.
right, so then, Ms. Chick, you can carry on.
Well, now, first, wait. First, we have to vote to consider it. So it's actually
All right,
before us.
so let's vote to consider it.
So,
Mr.
thank you.
Mr.
So
Thomas
we're going to
having
open the
arrived.
roll on considering item 5. Open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
14
Okay.
ayes.
Item 5 is now before us. And Mrs. Chick, did you want to be heard on item 5? Could you hit the speaker thing, please?
I'm sorry?
Could you hit the speaker thing? No, hold on.
The light is lit.
Yeah, well, but I'm not picking it up. That,
Want to clear it, and then I'll do it.
yeah, go ahead. I mean, just, go ahead.
Are you ready?
They're trying,
Okay.
no, I mean, the machine's not ready, but we're ready. Go
Okay.
ahead.
Thank you, Madam President. Colleagues, certainly know that all of you have paid close attention to this important piece of charter reform and charter implementation. It's about the details of the Office of Finance, which is a new entity, reporting directly to the mayor and only to the mayor. And yesterday we had another debate about a piece of that, and there was quite a bit of discussion about the intent of the creators of the charter and the will of the voters. So let me underscore the very most important reason why it should be a unanimous vote for the committee report and a vote against the mayor's veto. Because when you look at the language of the charter and when you listen to the chairs of both the elected and the appointed charter commissions, what is very clear is the following. The mayor made a pitch during the commission deliberations for a stronger Office of Finance, to have things like risk management and revenue prediction. And in the compromise process and the process of shaping the proposal that went on the ballot, that the voters passed, the two commissions compromised and decided to reject the mayor's proposal, the same one that came to your ad hoc committee, and the same one, slightly different, that he's fighting again now in this veto. The commission said no and put on the ballot what your committee is recommending that we implement, the will of the people. But the bottom line on all of this, on the passage of all of the measures of the charter and how we implement it, because there is flexibility on some of it, and there are room for ordinances such as the one that came before you from committee. The question is, what are the merits, colleagues, if you feel that risk management would be improved by being in the Office of Finance, then that's what we need to vote on. And what I would like to do, because so far in committee and all those discussions, I have yet to hear an argument that convinces me on the merits. And so I would like to ask the mayor's experts on this issue to come to the table and answer for all of us and for open public discussion, how would putting risk management, taking it from where it is now and putting it in the Office of Finance, how would that create improvements in the next year? And particularly, perhaps you could talk to us about what's broken in the system, especially since November of '99, when the council took its first action to put into place revisions and changes that had been long overdue. Thank you.
Ms. Martin.
Hi, I must apologize, I was en route, so I didn't hear all the questions, so.
Okay.
But,
It's basically what's wrong or what's broken with risk management and or workers' comp, and especially before November of '99, when council started to implement many changes in those programs. And how would you fix what's broken, and how is that better for next year than what the council has just acted to do in putting it in CAO/ORS? So what's broken, how to fix it, and how does that make it better to put it in the Office of Finance than what the council did?
okay, well, I think that in the area of risk management, despite best efforts from a large number of folks, yourself, CAO's office, our offices, that we've tried on workers' comp, the personnel department, we've tried a whole series of things that have not been of the highest success, and that we spend a lot of money on these issues, and unfortunately this is remedial money, in the sense that if you do the fixes in advance of the problem, then the money you spend is less, and the other dollars can be spent on programmatic activities. The reason we think that risk management should move to the Office of Finance is that fundamentally we believe that this is an operational issue, and that the tools needed to fix the problem are the financial assessment tools that will be in that department, that these are the kinds of issues where in one place you will have someone who can, right now we have this enormous disconnect. If a tree needs to be trimmed and the tree's in front of a stop sign, the message that the tree needs to be trimmed doesn't get back to the person who trims the trees. We don't have these connections. We've seen lots of stories with respect to the police department recently that talk to issues about how the department is not informed of liability issues. There's no place that brings it and forces that kind of sitting down around a table and figuring out who's accountable and what should be changed. And the difference is if it stays in the CAO's office under the new structure of government that the charter puts into place, where the operations of the city as an enterprise are the responsibility of the executive branch of government, we won't have the kind of focus and effort we need. And I think the diffusion of accountability is fundamentally what the challenges has been in risk management. And I think that ideally, rather than paying remedial claims to people, you would hope they didn't get injured in the first place.
All right, Ms. Goldberg is next.
Yeah, I think we have two pieces here. We have the revenue forecasting piece and the debt management piece. And I want to argue that they both, for at least the time being, well, one permanently and the other for the time being, should not be in the Department of Finance. I don't think revenue forecasting should ever be in the Department of Finance. If they want to do revenue forecasting in addition to ORS, that's fine. But I don't think it should be ever solely there, because that department is a department that has no requirement that it report to the council. That means that information, not maybe with this mayor, but at some time, could actually be withheld in a way of preventing us from getting good information. And so I think Keith Comrie came in and spoke about revenue forecasting should be not a part of the new Department of Finance. Both the chairs of the various charter reform groups, the elected and the appointed, argued it should not be in the Department of Finance, and I think that that's a good point. This does not preclude a mayor's budget, as they do in New York, duplicating services. If they want to have it there as well as in ORS, that's a different question. We can debate that. But, and in New York they do. It does result, generally speaking, in the city council and the mayor suing each other over what the numbers are, which is what I'm trying to avoid here. Debt management I have a different take on. Debt management, I would urge us not today to put in the Department of Finance. And long range, I don't think it matters where it goes. And if the Department of Finance is a good place for it, I don't have a problem with that. I've said that repeatedly. The reason I urge us not to do it today is because we have finally got buy-in on the civilian side from the civilian unions through the Joint Labor Management. And it is my humble opinion, strongly felt opinion, that we should let that process work for a while and let them begin to feel some ownership, because I believe they would perceive it going into Department of Finance as being an end to their role. I don't think it would be, but I believe that would be their perception, and I think we would lose ground when we have buy-in. And I will tell you, there is nothing more important in risk management. In risk management, there's nothing more important than buy-in from the employee union groups. So I would urge we delay that today. Now, as to debt management, I feel the same way about it in revenue forecasting. Debt management and revenue forecasting. I think I said risk management and debt management. I got confused there for a second. Risk management is the one I think is temporarily should be done. Debt management and revenue forecasting go together. I think there are policies of the council. We need to leave them in a department that reports to both the mayor and the council, and that's the only reason why I do not believe it goes in the Department of Finance. So to reiterate, risk management, in maybe 6 months we should revisit it. I'll even bring in the motion. I just want the process to have a chance to work. Debt management and revenue forecasting, I do not believe belong in any department that reports only to the mayor.
Mr. Wax.
I'm going to wait for an opinion from the city attorney to ask whether it's possible on a veto override to divide the subjects to whether it is possible to override, say, on debt management and revenue forecasting and not on risk management. But the city attorney is looking that up now. So
Just hit the button again and I'll call you when it comes around. Mrs. Walters was next.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We voted last week or whenever, it seems that all the days have rolled into one, and I don't know which day it was, but we voted to put risk management, revenue estimating, long-term financial planning, debt insurance management, and debt impact statements in the Office of ORS. And I feel that that's where they properly belong with good reason. We must have access to unfiltered information, to information that is not shaded by political judgment. We must have access to, in order to keep our bond ratings and all of that in the best condition, information that emanates not from a political office, emanates from someplace that is apolitical, if you will, that gives us unbiased information that we can count on. When we talk about long-term financial planning, one or two people on the council and another one or two people on the council may have equally good reasons for managing finances in ways that are different. And a mayoral office, regardless of who is there, may have another way of managing it. But one of the things that we can count on from the CAO or the ORS office is impartial information, clearly stated, that gives us a clear-cut answer to the financial planning and gives us the option. We can follow it or we can not follow it. But we ought to be able to have it in that office so that we can know that this is information, the numbers we can count on, and the approach that we can count on. And not only that we as a council can count on, but to reiterate that our bond raters can count on, that people doing business with the city can count on as being straight information. And I think it's vital to the operations of the council and the operations of the mayoralty. Again, whomever is there. And if they want to do alternative, these functions alternatively in their Office of Finance, then they can do them. But this ORS office or the CAO's office it's vital to maintain these functions in that office and not disturb them.
Mrs. Chick.
Before you start my time, do we have a finding from the city attorney? Because I think that information is key.
We don't have a motion in front of us either at this point. So.
Veto.
All right, Mrs.
Second.
Walters has moved that
Second.
we override. And so I heard
In
somebody
answer
second
to the
it, but
question
I
that
don't-
Mr. Wax asked, is that you either today, you have an ordinance in front of you. You must either, it's all up or all down. However, what you could do is you could sustain the veto and then move to approve a different ordinance, which would be a new ordinance in front of you.
Okay,
Which would do, if you wanted to do half of what's in this ordinance, we could possibly interlineate that, the council could vote on that today. But the ordinance in front of you today on the mayor's veto is an all up or all down.
So just before we let you off the hook here, if
That's all
a veto takes 10 votes, or an override takes 10 votes.
That's right.
If we override and then somebody moves a new ordinance, that takes 12.
No, if you override, you have approved the ordinance that is in front of you today.
If we override, we have,
yeah, the ordinance.
I see, all right. If we do not override and then somebody moves an ordinance, that would take, how many votes?
That would be 12 unanimous today, and then it would come back on second reading if it was not. It would
All
be
right.
the same as any
All
other
right.
ordinance.
Okay, so, Mrs. Chick, we're in your time here.
Yes, and I will end my comments. I already talked about paying attention to the will of the people and the language of the charter, And I've also talked about good common sense, that you start up a new operation with a big mandate to improve collections. You do that first. We don't even have a plan on the table. But colleagues, most importantly, a huge theme, and you talked about it yesterday, a huge theme of charter reform was accessibility of the public to government. The mayor is not governed, his office and staff and the mayor is not governed by the Brown Act. And what you will be doing in not overriding this veto and in not leaving risk management for the time being where it is and let collections improve, you are taking a huge investment of public dollars because, for instance, workers' comp costs alone, Mr. Wax, since you chaired government efficiency and started the effort for the council to fix it, workers' comp from 93 to last year has risen from about 82 million to 116 million, up $34 million. Who stepped into the void? Your council committees, Government Efficiency, Personnel Committee, Joint Labor Management. And finally, the council just recently adopted some significant improvements and changes in a total void from action from the executive branch. And now we're going to take it from an area where it's in the public arena, where we can be directly accountable and the public can access the information about their tax dollars. We're going to take it and we're going to put it behind closed doors and we're going to cut off debate, and it will never be about the merits, just as what you heard here 10 minutes ago on the merits, you all know very well, was not a substantive argument. I move denial of the veto, which will leave the ordinance in place, common sense, for the next year or until the head of the Office of Finance/Treasurer presents a plan on the merits that has us act sooner.
All
I
right.
will take that into committee, as I've said often in public.
All
Thank
right,
you.
so, Mr. Wax, you do not want to be heard again? Okay. All right, so the motion before us is to override the veto. Open the roll on, I'm sorry, Mrs. Walters?
Or
If an aye vote is to override, a no vote is to not override, to uphold the veto. All right. An aye vote is to override.
they're going to take it.
We are going to, yeah, they're going to be, they have to fix our computers here. All right, let's just, no, we're not on the machine, right? The machine's down. All right, let's just call the roll on this, and so we'll just do it one at a time.
Burnson? No. Chick?
Aye.
Fior? Aye. Galanter?
Aye.
Goldberg?
Aye.
Hernandez? Holden?
What are you voting on?
Misikowski?
Aye.
Pacheco? No. Padilla?
No.
Ridley Thomas?
Aye.
Swornich?
No.
Wax?
No.
Walters?
Aye.
Nine.
All right.
9 ayes,
9 ayes and 5 noes.
The council has 60 days to vote on this. However, there is the issue of the charter, but you can leave it on the desk until tomorrow.
We're expecting Mr. Ferraro back tomorrow, I believe.
It would stay on the desk day to day and for
Well,
Madam President?
yes, Mr. Padilla.
When the council first voted on this, we also entertained at one point and will send off to committee a motion introduced by Council President Ferraro. If this item were to be sent to committee, possibly it could be re-reviewed then, and a new recommendation come out of committee back for our consideration.
I'd like to move the ordinance.
We just vote.
Wait, let me understand that. Which,
I'd like to move the ordinance, the veto,
It doesn't need to go back to committee, I guess.
right, we can just move it.
You can either
No, we've already voted on it.
It's on today's agenda.
move the
Well,
ordinance.
that's what I thought we were just told, is that if this failed, we could actually move the ordinance.
No, that would be a new ordinance. You'd bring a motion in to approve a new ordinance, which would do, I don't know, whatever you want it to do.
Can we
Something
do
in
that
between.
today or not? I thought you said we could.
I think that we can probably interlineate the ordinance that is in front of you, but I want you to understand that it is a new ordinance and it takes a new 12-vote item.
Yes. Well, I'm going to move that we have an ordinance, that we vote today on an ordinance that would maintain a debt management and revenue forecasting in the Department of Finance, and that we refer the risk management issue to the appropriate committee for further study.
Well,
I'm sorry, to ORS, you're right. I meant ORS, not Department of Finance.
All wrong.
Yeah, okay, let me try it again. I move that we put debt management and revenue forecasting in ORS, that we have an ordinance that does that, and that we take the issue, as my colleague has suggested, of risk management, and we send it to the appropriate committee for further discussion. That divides the issues. Do I have a second for that?
Mr. Wax, it doesn't, the machine's not working.
right.
All right, try it again, see if it's working. No.
I think if you just
Okay.
moved, if the motion was just to move the ordinance that the ordinance is before you, the subject matter, you delete the risk management and vote on the ordinance, first reading ordinance that does not include risk management.
All right, I'll move that.
All right, do we have a second? All right, we have,
If this
Ms.
passes,
Goldberg
then-
moved, and Ms. Chick seconded, and you were, if
I'm
this,
just going to say, if this passes, risk management will stay in the Department of Finance.
Right. Because,
And debt management, revenue forecasting, and debt impact statements and things like that will go into ORS.
okay. Now, we now have a lot of people who want to be heard, so we'll take them in order. Mr. Wax is first.
That would be the result, then I would support it. What I was going to propose is an ordinance that puts risk management in the Department of Finance and the others in ORS. And the ordinance would have to say that, as opposed to just putting certain ones in ORS and leaving it understood that the other goes over there. I'd want an ordinance that says risk management in finance, all the other in ORS. And it would just spell it out, and then that's what it would be. And that was the reason I voted to sustain the veto, so that we could have that compromise, which I think is what Council President Ferraro introduced a long time ago. And I'll speak to that motion if I can. And if that's the same motion Ms. Goldberg moved, then it's fine. I just wanted it should be clearly delineated in the ordinance.
no, I think it's not exactly the same, because,
Well, then I...
just so we understand what we're doing, anything that is in ORS requires an ordinance. So therefore, and if risk management cannot be in ORS unless there is an ordinance putting it in ORS.
Okay. I just think we
Okay.
should be clear from the start. My motion would be an ordinance that puts risk management in the Department of Finance and all the other items before us today in ORS. We'd just say it straightforward, so there would be no question about interpreting it later on.
That is different, if I understand this correctly, that is different from Ms. Goldberg's motion.
That's what I thought. So
Okay. Because it specifically
Says-
locates where risk management will be. Ms. Goldberg's motion sent risk management back to the committee.
Yeah.
We have yet to determine which committee. And Mr. Wax's motion puts,
It just spells it straight out. Risk management in the finance and the other functions that are stated here today in ORS.
Point of order, how does, or does not, the fact that there was a council motion acted on, sent to Government Efficiency Committee, that was Mr. Ferraro's motion, I believe, 2 or 3, actually it wasn't too long ago, about 2 or 3 weeks
come
ago.
on, you're on a
It's in
point of
committee.
order here. There's 3 more people waiting to
It's-
speak.
you
How does
have-
that affect what we're looking at now? I'm asking the city attorney.
That is there, but you can act on a separate thing.
Okay.
It doesn't affect this. I mean, it may affect how you feel about it, but it doesn't from a legal standpoint.
Okay. I'm only asking about the legal standpoint.
Legal
Thank you.
standpoint.
All right, the time clock doesn't work. Mr. Wax, were you finished?
No, I never got to talk. I mean,
Oh, well, all
I
right,
wanted
go
to make
ahead.
my motion and then...
Well, we got your motion. Go ahead.
I think that's the best you're going to do, and I think it's a fair compromise. And I don't think that there's necessarily a right or wrong in either of these. I've listened to the arguments, and they could be made on both sides. The charter allows you to choose either route. I think that this compromise of leaving, and I think that the reasons Ms. Goldberg articulated in terms of forecasting and debt management in ORS is an appropriate one. Risk management, however, I think is different, because risk management, for all that's said and done, risk management has failed. We haven't had the kind of risk management we have under the current system. And I'm not going to say it's because of this person's fault or that person's fault or that person's fault, but Ms. Chick, we started this years ago to try to bring about reforms in risk management, and they haven't occurred. And someone has got to we have to hopefully, if we have better risk management, everyone's going to benefit by it, because there's going to be more money for more services that are really needed and less money that is wasted on inefficiently providing services. So I really believe that while I buy the arguments that you have given on forecasting and revenue forecasting and things of that nature, I think that risk management is better put where there's finally the buck stops someplace, where somebody has authority to coordinate the aspects and try to bring about some change. And if we do, we're going to all benefit from it. I think the charter leaves it open to either way, and I'm more than happy to make this compromise. It doesn't please everybody. It won't please the mayor. It won't please all of you. But I think as we're learning through this process, we have to try a little bit of each and see what works best and be willing to change it if it's not working in the future. This, I think, is the best compromise, where we can hold up the integrity of having information being public and being open and being objective, and still having someone in charge to bring about some efficiencies in government to make it work better for all of us.
Mr. Pacheco.
Okay. Madam President, colleagues, I was just simply rising in support of Council President Ferraro's compromise or alternative solution to this issue. I believe that was where Ms. Goldberg was going to go, but I think it fell one step short. I'm not sure where we are now, considering Councilmember Wax. Okay. Well, then I support Councilmember Wax's motion, because I equate it to Council President Ferraro's motion. I just felt that the Council President came up with a solution that would be good for the city.
Mrs. Walters.
When the Council President's motion was before us, we did not pass it. Pardon? It went to committee, and that's where it sits now. When Mr. Wax speaks of having risk management someplace where the buck stops, and it can be changed or made more palatable to the city as well as to the persons involved, I think the buck stops at the CAO. And I think that with it in the CAO's office, the CAO can be held responsible for doing something about risk management. And I think that's where it belongs. All of these functions belong in the CAO's office, or ORS as we're now calling it. And I think that's exactly where it belongs, where it should be. And I would urge that we reconsider the vote that was taken. And if the votes aren't here today, that it be left on the table until Friday, or until such time we have 60 days as we can do something about it. But I am not at all happy with risk management being peeled away and going to the Department of Finance.
Mr. Ridley Thomas.
Madam President, members of the council, I wonder what the public is thinking about what's at stake here. And I don't know that it's reducible to a matter of where a function is placed in which department. but the matter may be more fundamental as it relates to what governance is about, and if there is an open form of government where information is shared in a responsible way, where checks and balances are observed, when there is not a concentration of power, when there is not a reinstitution of a conflict that was settled in the charter debate that's now being reawakened. I think it is important for us to say to those in the audience, those who are viewing by way of Channel 35, what the fundamental issue is. And perhaps the CLA can dispassionately do that. Perhaps the CAO can do that. Some of what many of us are concerned about is whether or not, depending on how this is shaped, there will be a free flow and open flow of information so all decision makers can have access to it and make the best decision in the interest of our respective constituencies and of the city as a whole. Mr. Deaton and or Mr. Fujioka, I would ask that you address that issue in terms of whether or not that's some of what's driving the question. Ms. Chick, if you want to weigh in, that's fine, because I think it's important to lay bare what's really going on here. Mr. Deaton, Mr. Fujioka. Ms. Chick.
Mr. Fujioka, in your comments, perhaps you could also highlight just the history of risk management, workers' comp, the changes that have been made, the improvements that are being made.
Well, the most significant improvement regarding risk management and its impact on workers' comp is the merger of the safety program with our risk managers. That particular, that may sound like a simple move, but that in itself, I think, would go to a long ways in the city's efforts to develop a comprehensive prevention program so that instead of paying the exorbitant amount of money we're paying now on workers' comp injuries, we can do something to improve worker safety, improve loss prevention, and stop the injury from happening. That synergy, I think, is critical and is important, is an important step for the city. Keeping it in the CAO, I spoke to this earlier, because risk management is more than just safety. Risk management is something that's an integral part of what we do in terms of how we handle contracts, how we handle our capital construction programs, our facility programs, how we handle and plan for our capital projects. Our staff interact with our risk managers on a daily basis. Because of that, I think it's extremely important that it stays within the Office of Administration, Research and Research Services, ORS, or the CAO. It's something that I think risk management is something that, in very basic terms, people don't understand. They just heard the term. They think its relationship is only to workers' comp and only to safety. It has much more, and it does much more. It has a fundamental relationship with our financial structure, financial management program.
Thank you. Mr. Holden.
I think that it's all about money, and it's also about who's in control of initiating or giving out contracts. And that I've said over and over again, like Mr. Savorny said yesterday, that he was against this whole charter reform package. He's getting up, walking away, so you're going to miss this. But the fact of the matter is that it's all about who's going to have the vested interest into manipulating the management of the city of Los Angeles and its programs. And here's a clear example of what I mean by that. The boilerplate charter reform package is going to breed corruption in this city. Risk management rightfully belong not in the Department of Finance, but in the CAO's office, Mr. Wax. They give out contracts And the CAO is required to report to us as well as to the mayor, whereas the Department of Finance, hey, that's going to be uniquely different. I don't care who the mayor might be. It might even be you, but you don't want the likelihood of somebody even make any kind of accusation or perception that something is wrong within that office should you be elected and serve in it. You don't want that. So the perception of wrongdoing is just as bad as if you've done wrong. And to vote on that today is what you're really voting for or against. We give CAO interviews prospective contractors and submit them to the council as it relates to risk management and their investigation. The reason why you have a lot of claims, Mr. Wax, because you can't legislate integrity. People lie and they cheat and they steal. Not all of them, but that's what they do. Just the other day in the newspaper, it says the safety officers for the LA County, 50% of them are going out on claims of health. They were lying. They were protecting and serving us one day and lying and cheating the next day saying something was wrong with them so they get a bigger pension. Come on. You better open up your eyes and see what you're doing to this city. This is baloney. Stop it and stop it now. You vote on those contracts. You know what's going on. It does not belong in the Department of Finance. Who's got control? Who's going to manipulate this or that? Who's going to get kickbacks? I'm not saying anybody's going to get it, but they can designate contributors to their friends. And I would say to you, enough is enough on this one. And, hey, that is not the way I'm going. I'm not saying the CAO office, whoever's going to be there, is perfect, but the eyes are upon them, and more people are watching them. And I got 8 seconds over, so I'm going to sit down, but you know where I'm going to vote.
Thank you, Mr. Holden. The chair recognizes Councilman Fewer.
Rudy, thank you very much. Rudy, before my time starts, I'd like to actually ask the city attorney to go to the center table and essentially as a point of order, I thought there were some issues as to what we could and couldn't do, and if we could just have the city attorney report, and then I'd like to take my time.
That would be fine. Mr. Echeverria.
As I understand the motion, one of the motions that you have before you, it's to amend and adopt the ordinance as amended by deleting subsection A of 20.8 and relettering the other subsections as A, B, and C, with subsection A then, or the substance of that referred to committee, which is the risk management part of it. As I understand another motion, it's that the risk management, that a different ordinance be considered assigning risk management to the Office of Finance. The significant issue which I see with that is that the description in the agenda is dealing with the responsibilities of ORS. While that action is one that can be taken when properly calendared, there's an issue as to whether that action could be taken today. You have an ordinance that's coming that deals generally with the responsibilities of the Office of Finance, and that would be the appropriate time, I think, to consider that. Or today you could instruct our office to prepare an ordinance which would be presented to you, which would incorporate that instruction. But today I think there's a serious question as to whether you can act with the duties of the Office of Finance.
Well, you know, I actually, and for what it's worth, I wasn't sure when I asked me what the story was going to be, but I knew there was an issue. Mm-hmm. With that in mind, let me take a shot at something. There is the two competing issues on the table boil down to this. Ms. Goldberg's motion is essentially have the policy discussion in committee and have it come back to the council, as I understand it, Jackie. And Mr. Wax's motion is just do it today. Mr. Echeverria, on behalf of the city attorney, is saying just doing it today is fraught with risk, maybe formalistic risk, but there's a legal issue as to whether this matter can be before us today. Ms. Chick has and bear with me, Laura, because I'm just thinking as I'm talking here, but has a committee hearing on Monday with respect to this issue. Mm-hmm. The city attorney's office couldn't get us the revised ordinance until probably Tuesday of next week anyway, mm-hmm. Right?
Right.
What if we try to satisfy a number of goals here? Have the policy committee hear Mr. Ferraro's motion on Monday, if Laura would be willing to do that, and then have the ordinance back for a debate which is properly noticed under the Brown Act on Tuesday. And the chips will fall where they fall. It'll enable a thoughtful policy discussion to ensue in committee. It won't be postponed forever. We can even calendar the date certain of Tuesday as the date on which the council makes a final determination here. And we don't have anybody saying there were legal issues that undermine the credibility of the council's action today. So that would be my motion, is to proceed in that manner, and which is essentially Ms. Goldberg's motion embellished by Ms. Chick's willingness to hear the matter and Mr. Echeverria's point regarding the legality of doing it today. Who's here on, is there anybody absent on Tuesday next week? What about Wednesday?
What about December?
There's 11 people on Tuesday, 11 on Wednesday, and 11 on Friday.
Well, colleagues, here's the thing. I'm not sure what I think as to the debate as to whether doing it now or later on the merits. But regarding Mr. Echeverria's point, it's dumb for us to proceed in a way that our city attorney has cautioned may not be legal to do. It does also, I think, make real sense to know that this issue will be resolved after having a review either today or in policy committee once and for all in a very short time frame, so that we're not delaying the implementation of this one way or the other. I'm just looking for a date certain immediately by which we can have a debate with enough council members here to make the decision, satisfy the legal requirements of the Brown Act and other things, and have the policy discussion once and for all. And whether it's Tuesday or the following Tuesday, let's just do it, but let's do it on that basis and not risk other problems that we inadvertently would fall into if we do it today.
Madam Clerk.
Is there a second for that approach?
Second.
Madam Clerk, we only have 11 members Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday.
There'll be 12 for part of the meeting on Wednesday.
And who's presiding next week?
Councilmember Svornich.
My. Chair recognizes Councilman Hernandez.
$410 days left. Yeah, 410 days. Members of the council, as I reflect on my 410 days, I have left, I always ask myself, why is it that I no longer enjoy this job? And I want to be real frank with you. It's kind of like what I'm seeing here today. This is strictly political. The mayor's office would like it to be under the Department of Finance, clearly. And I think a majority of the council has stated on several occasions they'd like to have it under the Department or the Office of Administrative Research Services. And I think that reason that the majority of the council has taken that position, which is opposite of the mayor's position, is very clear. And that is that office reports to the council and the mayor, as opposed to the Department of Finance. And I think the LA Times has taken a position on it on several occasions recently in its editorials, and surprisingly, they agreed with the council. And you know that I have, on several occasions, referred to the LA Times as the Reardon Times, because I always felt that they were pushing the mayor's agenda. Now, that's the politics. What is surprising to me is how much control the mayor's office has over some colleagues, because I don't think we're really listening to the issues of the debate, and I'm saying that publicly. What's surprising to me is the real issue that's before us. And do we have to make those decisions today? And when I say that, that's why I want to support Mr. Feuer's movement to some kind of compromise. Because what I have learned in these 9 years, that this process does evolve, does change, and ultimately we make a decision. I just wanted to put the politics on the line because I think it's important that people understand the real issue that's before us. And it's a simple one. Do you put it under the Department of Finance under direct control of the mayor? Or do you put it under the Department of Office Administrative Research Services, which is basically to be overseen by the mayor and the council? No different. And why some members would like to give up that ability to be involved in that process is what was the most disturbing to me. And that's as simple as I can put it, and that's how simple I would put it to my constituents. And I would tell them that I have a responsibility in risk management in the city. We're facing it right now with Rampart. And in many of those decisions, we didn't participate at the level we should have. And now we're dealing with some of the repercussions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hernandez. The chair recognizes President Pro Tem Ruth Galanter.
I would like to say that I think Mr. Ridley Thomas raised an issue earlier, or alluded to it, that we should not lose sight of. The Brown Act is not just a legalism that we need to comply with because it's the law. We do need to comply with it because it's the law, but let's remember that the Brown Act was actually adopted for the purpose of bringing, I think they called it sunlight to government, and doing government where the public could see what was going on, and whether they approve or disapprove, they would at least have the option of the opportunity to know why the decisions being made are being made. And I'm a little concerned. Mr. Wax is normally the council's biggest advocate of doing everything in public, and I know that you believe that. But I think that the issue here is that we want to be sure that it's not just a question of the council members having information. We get information on behalf of the public. And I think it's important for the public also to have the information. And the issue we're all struggling with as we try to implement this charter is how to both improve accountability and at the same time, I think, to ensure that there is the maximum feasible opportunity for public scrutiny as well as public involvement. Obviously, the public's not going to be directly, personally involved in a lot of these activities that are really administrative. But it seems to me that the more information we can make available to the public in advance of decisions and during the decision-making process, the better off we are. And as a city, I don't mean us as a council, because, you know, most of this is going to be after most of us are gone. But there is a really serious problem here about decisions being made, and even the press can't really tell how these decisions got made or for what reason. And the concern that I hope you all share is that as we are trying to formulate this, there is a reason for checks and balances. It's not as efficient as autocracy, as I think I commented in the middle of the meeting yesterday. But that's the price of democracy, that things do not always go as efficiently as they should, but there are other virtues to this. So I think we do need to move forward with this. I'm going to support Ms. Goldberg's motion, which allows us to move forward with a piece of it today and sends the rest of it as recommended by her motion and also by the city attorney to a committee long enough to get it back to us in a form that allows further public debate if anybody wants to debate it, and that allows us to move forward today. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam President. The chair recognizes Councilwoman Goldberg.
I really just want to talk briefly about the question of how to make risk management, particularly with respect to workers' comp, work. Where it's been successful, you've had buy-in from labor. We finally have buy-in from labor. The only people who spoke at the Charter Committee against putting this at this time in the Department of Finance were representatives of bargaining units. They were the only opposition that came to the public hearing held in Ms. Chick's committee. I am not arguing, some people are, I am not one of those that's arguing that this needs to permanently be in ORS. I think revenue forecasting and debt management permanently need to be in ORS, but I think there's a consensus on that. I am arguing that we have finally got civilian buy-in to attempt to make some changes on important issues like return to work. Like return to work maybe not in your own department. These are not easy things to get people to agree on. And I would just urge those of you who believe that the only way we're really going to get a handle on this issue is to get buy-in from our bargaining units in the civilian side, and eventually we're going to have to get buy-in from bargaining units on the sworn side, And we finally achieved that. I think that's a big change, and it's worth waiting 6 months to see if it works. If it doesn't, we can always make changes again. I think it's worth the 6 months. And that's all I'm really advocating here, is 6 months. The second reason that I think there's a problem, Mr. Wax, specifically with your argument about, well, we've tried this and we've tried that and nothing has worked, is that there was nothing in the old charter that prevented the mayor from taking leadership then. Virtually nothing. At any time in the last 7 years. So it's not a slam dunk that just because you put it in somebody's hands, they're going to do anything about it. And at least now we have buy-in from the unions. I would like to put my money on giving them a shot at getting compliance by getting voluntary cooperation with the important issues of early return to work and safety and prevention. And then if that fails, we can try something else. And that's my argument. It is not an argument that permanently it has to stay where it is. I feel that way only about debt management and revenue forecasting, not about this issue.
Mr. Wax.
A few comments. Mr. Holden was actually on the right. I hate to agree with Mr. Holden, but, when he talked about the politics of it, a political mayor would rather keep it with oars so that when something goes wrong, as it will, as Mr. Holden rightly points out, he could say it's their fault. And that's how people have gotten by for years without taking responsibility for many of the things that have gone wrong. So in a sense, if you really wanted to be political, you'd leave it with oars and blame it on them when it went wrong, or blame it on somebody, Nate, but not take the blame yourself. And that's tempting. Two issues, one on the risk management and one on the Brown Act. Ms. Goldberg is right in terms of needing employee buy-in, particularly with issues like safety and prevention and with early return to work. But Ms. Goldberg, you were on the committee. We sat together on the GE committee many years ago when we addressed workers' comp, including those issues. And we haven't quite seen the progress. But there's another aspect that you didn't mention that's really been the hang-up, and that is the resolution of claims. And frankly, the role of the attorneys in the resolution of those claims. And that has really dragged behind, and we try to bring in the third party, but in part, but it has not been successful. The consultants have told us that I think that's where we have really gone wrong in not bringing about some of the savings that we could bring about in efficiently resolving the claims, although we have reduced the backlog of them, but we haven't gone beyond that. And I think that there has been a lot of resistance to making that happen, and I think some of this council shares some of the blame for it not happening. The Brown Act, I don't understand the city attorney's opinion. The Brown Act, the city attorney is saying, if we want to act, we've been discussing for weeks and months now whether these functions should be in one department or another. Suddenly today, if you put them in one department, it meets the Brown Act, but if you don't want to put one of them in another department, it doesn't meet the Brown Act. It is inconceivable for me that something that has been discussed openly and publicly for months could violate the Brown Act if it goes in one department, but not in another. When the same city attorney 4 hours from now is going to go into a closed-door session and bargain away the whole running of the city's police department, which is the biggest public issue of all, that won't even be public. That is okay with the Brown Act, but somehow today deciding that one of these functions should somehow go to the Office of Finance violates the Brown Act. I don't understand that at all. It's not consistent. These are public issues. We've been debating them publicly. We happen to have a disagreement now as to one function going to one department or another. This is not rocket science. And in the last analysis, all of us are going to have to, if the three that went to ORS shouldn't have been there, we'll have to be willing to admit that and change it. If the one that went to finance is wrong, we'll have to be willing to admit that was wrong and change it. There's no magic in this. It's all we're trying to do, we should be trying to do together, mayor and council and staff, is somehow making the city run better and more efficiently. And when we see something isn't working, we should be willing to make some change. And if it's not, we should be willing to say it isn't working. This shouldn't be mine versus yours or yours versus mine, or the things that Mr. Hernandez is talking about how terrible it is that the mayor might have too much influence on some council member
Mr.
and
Wax.
that the council should have more influence than the mayor. We should all be working together on this, and no system's going to work unless we do. No system will
All right.
work
Thank
unless
you.
we ultimately do.
Thank you. Mr.
Red-
Pacheco. I'm sorry, Mr. Deaton.
The simple way to do this, Mr. Wax, is as follows, is you act today in accordance with the city attorney's opinion, advice. You delete risk management from the ordinance and pass it for ORS. Friday or Tuesday when the budget comes in, because currently we have the budget where we have risk management, it is remaining in ORS. My view is this subject is over with. And that we make a adjustment to the budget and we put risk management, pardon me?
You lose your leverage when you get the other things.
No, the leverage.
Wait, could you finish your recommendation and then respond?
We change the budget on Tuesday, or when this comes back before it goes to the mayor, and transfer risk management to the Office of Finance. There is no ordinance for the Office of Finance at this point, so you would be creating an ordinance just for this one function, and that is the efficient way to do this. The leverage is, in fact, that you do not, if it is not in ORS by ordinance, it's not there. The charter, the new charter, July 1st, requires an ordinance to put that in by the mayor and the council. That's the leverage. That's why it's over. That's why it's over. But that's the efficient way to do it.
All right. Ms. Mizakowski is next. She hasn't spoken yet.
If the council were to adopt a new ordinance today, putting the two issues in ORS that there's little disagreement about around the table, and did not define risk management, isn't risk management in limbo unless by ordinance we put it one place or the other? I thought we had that issue yesterday with emergency preparedness, that not putting it by ordinance someplace, it's in limbo.
No.
No, then why is it, where is it if it's not in limbo? It's not defined in the charter in Office of Finance.
You would have to put, the controller would have to decide where it was going.
So the
Okay,
council
but so-
would decide, the controller would decide?
Because if you didn't do anything, that's why I'm saying Tuesday you need to change the budget. And the difference between emergency preparedness, and I'm happy to have the city attorney listen to this, but there's a significant difference between the emergency preparedness issue and the Office of Finance. You were, in the one case, emergency preparedness, creating a new department. And there is no such department, so you need an ordinance to do that. In order to transfer the function of risk management to Office of Finance, you have in the budget an Office of Finance, and you can just transfer it to there. And I'm suggesting that we do that Tuesday when the resolution comes back, we make a change
Okay,
in that.
so one way we could do it is by the budget and transferring the funds from one
Right.
place to another. Another way we could do it is by ordinance, which would also need an ordinance change in the future if we ever wanted to change it. But it clearly defines it as opposed to just leaving it
Right.
as a budget
And
shift.
the fact is that it may be in limbo, but it will not be in ORS. The limbo will not include ORS.
If I may,
Thank you for that clarity. Purgatory.
If I may, by way of clarification, there is a unique provision in the charter with respect to the ORS office. Any duty that's assigned to them other than a charter mandated duty has to be by ordinance, and that's unique to ORS. That's why the comment that it has to be by ordinance. With respect to...
So the rest is then just a budget matter by time, but either a council budget, a controller, or somebody in defining where the money is put to be spent.
Yes, for other...
And creating resolution authority of positions for that function and putting them someplace.
Correct, but if I may, there is an ordinance which generally describes the functions of the Office of Finance, which is moving forward from our office to committee on Monday and ultimately to council, and that would be an appropriate place to include this function as well.
Okay, so you're suggesting that since we have an ordinance that is defining Office of Finance further than what the charter says, if we wanted to make this change, we should do it Tuesday in that ordinance, which is coming to committee on Monday.
There also,
Thank you.
yes.
Votes. Mr. Pacheco.
Madam President, colleagues, I wanted to answer Mr. Hernandez's point about not listening to debates and stuff. When I was first here, I was told by one of the administrators here that I was not going to fit in because I only spoke once, I spoke succinctly, and then I sat down. because the trend around here is to say the same thing 3 times, 4 times over. So I've learned to do that, and I've actually gotten pretty good at it. But actually, I'm not as good as Mr. Savarnich. But the reason that you may perceive that no one is paying attention is because no one has said anything new. And if you haven't said anything new on an issue that's been before us 3 times, it's very difficult to listen. And the last thing I want to say is this. There are 2 bodies here in the city that I wholeheartedly believe should not be anything other than advisors to us as the electeds. That is the City Attorney's Office, and that is ORS. And this idea of putting a decision-making function in ORS goes against my philosophy. When the mayor came to the Charter Reform Commission and asked that the city attorney be appointed by the mayor, I wholeheartedly disagreed with them and said that goes against my philosophy, that the city attorney is an advisor. And if I want an advisor to be independent, it cannot be someone who reports to one of the electeds, whether it be the council or the mayor. And that's why I supported an elected city attorney, and that's why I disagreed with the mayor on that issue. There are many times when we agree with the mayor, or there are many times when I agree with the mayor. There are many times when I agree with labor. There are many times when I agree with the community. But there are often times when I disagree with the community, when I disagree with labor, and when I disagree with the mayor. I am not one of those people on this council who's going to be lock, stock, and barrel in line with any one of those 3 constituencies 100% of the time. I'm just not one of those council members. I know there are some here who are perceived that way or who act that way, but I'm not one of them. The problem, and for example, I wholeheartedly disagree with the mayor on his position on LA Bridges. And this afternoon, or today, we're going to discuss LA Bridges, another veto action, and the vote should be, as it was originally, 12-0 in favor of the bridges. And I will probably not be listening to my colleagues as they come up and argue something that's so obviously going to get the vote that's required, because I've already heard everything they've had to say. So sometimes we don't listen because people don't say anything new, Councilmember Hernandez. That's what happens. So on this whole issue, we have heard this, we've debated this issue 3 times, 4 times. We just disagree. And in this country, disagreeing is a part of our system. If we didn't want to have disagreement, we wouldn't have a legislative branch, we wouldn't have an executive branch, and in the federal level, we wouldn't have the judicial branch. But that is the system of this country. I think people need to remove themselves from the delusion that the mayor and the council are ever going to be one unit. We're not. That's not the way the system of government works in this country. That's not the way the charter is set up. It's set up for a natural, healthy tension. Unfortunately, historically, the recent history shows a very unhealthy relationship, but that is not something that the charter creates. That's the individuals who sit as elected officials who carry out those responsibilities. So from my viewpoint, we just genuinely disagree on this issue. I think we should just vote. I think if we want to look at it closer, and Councilmember Fuhr.
Your time's over.
Okay. Councilmember Fuhr's suggestion of putting it over to Tuesday, I would support that.
All right. Mr. Holden is next.
For Mr. Pacheco's request, I'll say something new. Mr. Pacheco, I'll say something new, Mr. Pacheco. Mr. Pacheco is not a rubber stamp. That's new. All the time. He's a give and take situation, and he said he gave the mayor this, he didn't give him the city attorney's job, but that's all right. He asked for that, and then he didn't give him that. Today he's going to vote to override the veto on one and not override the veto on another, so that's all right. I mean, that's what we do in this legislative body. We make those decisions independently. But I must tell you, Mr. Wax, and I want to reiterate, and maybe when I say reiterate, it means I'm repeating, Mr. Pacheco. This is a power grab. It really is. Now, you were saying that the city attorney should remain independent and an elected body. Well, risk management has been with the CAO's office. all the time. Maybe 9. I mean, you have had a year or so work experience with this function being within the CAO's office, and now you want to change it. You know, that's the trouble with term limits. Eventually, we're going to get enough new people here, they're going to erode what was once known as integrity in government, the best we could achieve, to something that we won't ever recognize in the future. That is, what's right, what's up, what's down, etc. So, Mr. Wax, I don't know if we'll ever convince you, but maybe the unions will. You were number one on their list, but you're number one now, but not favorite after that last speech. Yeah, that's what they say. You're number one.
He didn't say number one what, right?
So I would say to you, Mr. Wax, that the chickens will come home to roost. When you say that I don't want to listen to this group or that body, but you're listening to somebody, and this one is a bad one, and they're giving you the wrong message. The message should be that we should have openness in government and not close the door of opportunity for people to know what's going on or recognize what's going on as relates to the losses by those who would file a claim against the government. Many of them do. We have people in the audience who do investigative work, and they'll tell you they can save us lots of money if we investigate some of these claims. It's not going to happen upstairs, I can tell you. It's going to happen right here where it's been happening in the past. You think you have some losses, you just wait until you try and change it.
I think your time's up. Mr. Burnson, for the first time.
Yeah, members of the council, we've had a lot of debate, and as one of our newer members said, he does a lot of listening. Well, let me tell you, it's more important to listen than it is to speak, because as you so correctly pointed out, we've listened to the same thing 3 or 4 times from everybody in this debate. And that is the case. This is a simple matter of a power struggle between the council, the mayor, who's going to do this, who's going to do that. I think Mr. Wax's concern is the correct one about the public having the information. I originally opposed the charter changes very vocally and as much as I could, as all of you know. But once the voters have spoken, I felt that we had an obligation to proceed. The real question about the Risk Management Office, who controls it, whether it goes to the Office of Finance, whether it goes to CAO, is really not the important issue here. The real important issue is covered in the second further move of Mr. Ferraro's motion, and that is that the Office of Finance report quarterly to the City Council and the Mayor on the status of the risk management program, which brings it out into the open. And that's what's really important, not where it's at. I mean, if we're going to create an Office of Finance, as the voters have told us to do, the important thing is that we proceed, but it must be that the public has the information and the council at all times. And I believe that I'd like to incorporate into Mrs. Goldberg's motion that we act on today, which I'm prepared to support, by the way, Jackie, the second paragraph of Mr. Ferraro's motion. And that is, further move the Office of Finance report quarterly to the City Council and the Mayor on the status of the risk management program. And I would move that as an amendment, and I'm prepared to act on that phase of it today. And as far as the Risk Management Office is concerned, that's being deleted because that was, the mayor's veto was upheld on that. I guess they're going to send it back to committee, and we'll rehash that and talk about it some more. And nobody knows where that's going to wind up. But I can tell you that regardless of what we do, this council or some future council can change this whole setup with a simple ordinance. So nothing that happens today is in cement. And I would suggest that we move forward with that portion of it. Jackie, do you accept that as a friendly amendment? Do we move forward with that portion, that we keep that part in ours? And I'm ready to go on that part, and we can do whatever you want with the risk management portion of that. You can let it die today, you can send it to committee, you can fight over it. I can see this is not ending today, no matter what happens on risk management.
Not
but
at this rate, it's
Not at this rate, but but we can act on that portion, and I would suggest that we do that.
Mr. Deaton, you look like you were about to speak.
Well, if you did do the ordinance today with risk management removed, you could withhold on the ordinance till next Tuesday. And then the final vote on that vote would be next Tuesday. And you could bring in a motion, bring in an ordinance in, or the first reading. Oh, yeah, just withhold, it'd be a first reading. Then that could come back Tuesday. And then on Tuesday, either Tuesday or Wednesday for sure, we will have the budget in. And that ordinance, the second reading of the ordinance could coincide with when we have the budget, the resolution back to make the change in the Office of Finance / Risk Management. And those two things could be done not simultaneously, but in the same session.
All right, well, there's 3 more people who want to be heard, so...
You can either have the city attorney have an ordinance here. I don't think it's necessary, but...
All right, but if, in that description you just gave, what you're suggesting we pass today is Ms. Goldberg's motion, is that correct?
Right, that would
As
be
amended by
first reading of that
first reading.
ordinance.
Okay, next.
And it would be then over for 1 week, excuse me.
Mr. Fuhr is next.
Yeah, I just want to say, just as a matter of clarification, what I started to suggest before was, and also between now and Tuesday happens to be the Policy Committee on Charter Implementation, which is meeting on Monday. They could then have a further policy debate if necessary, and we could wrap the thing up by Tuesday or Wednesday. I concur with the rhythm of that. I think it makes some sense from everybody's standpoint.
We do need some rhythm.
Don't make me sing.
Mr. Burnson for the second time. Catching up, pal.
Yes, I'm going to be very brief. I just want to make sure that my motion my amendment applies to Mr. Wax's motion.
As well as to Ms. Goldberg's motion.
As well.
As well. All right. Now, could you guys go work that out while I call on Mr. Ridley Thomas?
Can you restate Ms. Goldberg's motion so we know it first? I just want to hear what the motion is.
Jackie, restate your motion.
My motion is that we pass the ordinance today without letter A. Letter A is risk management. That we send risk management to committee on Monday for a policy discussion, including the notion that wherever it is, it reports quarterly on risk management to both the council and the mayor, wherever it ends up, that comes back, and we ask that an ordinance come back with it, whatever the determination is. I suspect that the ordinance will be to put risk management in Department of Finance, but that it all come back, I'm taking a page from Mr. Comrie and Mr. Fuhr, that it all come back at the same time, so that we have the second reading of what we passed today, which is everything but risk management, and we have the ordinance regarding risk management and its placement also come back at the same time we do the budget, and that we do all of them on the same day. Second reading on one, first reading on the other, and we do it all on the same day, and then it's over.
All right. Mr. Ridley Thomas is next. You might get the
That's
preview.
fine, all right, if it all comes to
Wait, Mr. Ridley Thomas is next. And I believe I just heard you mumble previous question over
Yes,
there.
I just have a point
I
of
don't
order.
wish to mumble, Madam President. I want
Mumble
to
a little
assert-
louder, would you please?
I want to assert that.
Thank you.
With all of my being.
All right. Well, everybody who's listed here has already spoken at least twice. So the previous
I
question...
simply have a point of order.
I know you do, but let's get the previous question out of the way first.
Oh.
It does not prevent a point of order. Is there
Okay.
any objection to the previous question? All right. Debate is closed except for a point of order. Ms. Chick.
If our city attorney would comment on the second part of Mr. Ferraro's motion that I believe Mr. Burnson just asked to be incorporated, that we're about to vote on, requiring
Quarterly
therefore
reporting.
move the mayor shall make quarterly reports.
Yes.
Are we allowed to put that in an ordinance? Are we allowed to require the mayor makes reports to the council?
You can
it's
request
not the
it, I
mayor.
believe.
It's not the mayor.
I don't think it's the mayor that was the...
I just want to know if we
It's the
can do
Department
what
of
Mr.
Finance.
said.
Yes, it's the Department of Finance.
Yes,
Yes or no? Can we do it?
As I understand the final motion, it was wherever the responsibility goes, we'll report quarterly, so it's not clear that it's Office of Finance. The answer is, no, you can't make the mayor report to you, you can request them.
Yeah, but this is...
Reports. Or the Office of Finance, you can request reports.
You can request.
Point of order, point of order.
Another point of order. I'm glad we ended
The motion
debate.
has been to take Mr. Ferraro's language and add it. Mr. Ferraro's language said, "I further move that the Office of Finance report quarterly to the City Council."
Yes, that's what Mr.
And
Deaton read earlier.
So it's Office of Finance. And Mr. Echeverria should answer that question. Can we require in the ordinance that the Office of Finance report quarterly?
You can require by ordinance that they file reports with you.
Well, then we ought to do that.
Well, I believe that's what's been incorporated in the motion, so. All right, so the motion, debate has been closed. The motion before us is to pass the ordinance except for Section A, the risk management section, and to include in the ordinance the paragraph that Ms. Mizakowski just read and Mr. Deaton read earlier, or Mr. Burnson read earlier. So that is now before us, and Mr. Wax is going to withhold, so this will go over 1 week. Another point of order.
It's clear evidence that minority of 5
That is not a point of order.
prevail over majority
That
of
is
9.
not a point of order. Let us move
What
to
a
the
system.
next item. Joel withheld. So if he withholds, we don't need to vote anyway, right? You want to vote anyway? All right, well, let's vote on, hold on, this is another point of order?
I want to withhold as well. That's what I wanted to
All
add.
right, so Mr. Padilla is withholding, Mr. Wax is withholding, anybody else? All right,
Then
so
you don't take a vote on it, actually.
that's my point. All right,
You're withholding it, it goes over for a second reading next week.
that's correct.
You
That's
take
what
a
I
vote
announced.
today.
That's what I announced a few minutes ago in my desperate effort to move us on to the next item, which is... Yes, sir.
The Elliott Bridges out of order and do that now. so
Any
we can-
objection to doing that? We've got a lot of people here on that item. All right, hearing, now, we've already had a public hearing. We do have a lot of cards here, so we're not going to hold another public hearing unless the council moves to do it. I think your position has been made pretty clear. Now, wait a second, let's make sure we're on the right item here. This is item 34, I believe. All right, so we're now dealing with item 34. Ms. Goldberg?
I would like to move that this council override the veto's mayor on
All
item
right.
34.
Okay. Mr. Wax is next.
I just.
Oh, wait, hold on 1 second. This is 10 votes to consider. Let's take the 10 votes to consider. Open the roll on consideration. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
13 ayes, 1 no.
Well, it's before us. Okay. Ms. Goldberg, you've already done your thing here, Mr. Wax.
No, I just, despite the mayor's position, I'm very happy to support the veto. I think, listen, this is a good program this is a good program that has some problems, and I think that the council has shown the commitment to try to solve the problems. And if we're to do this right, the council and the mayor should work together to solve the problems, but leave the program and in strengthening it and making it a better program, all of us are going to benefit from it. Nobody can disagree with the goals of this, and nobody can disagree with the commitment on the part of all the parties to want this to happen. And as long as we have been willing to admit that there have been problems and we have resolved to try to correct them, then everyone's going to be a winner out of this. And this shouldn't really have to be a mayor versus a council or this paper versus that paper. This should be something about, is the city serious about its commitment to dealing with these issues and putting its money up and providing the kind of programs that Bridges is intended to provide. And the challenge is now ours. We got to make this work, and I think all of us are committed to making it work, and we should move ahead with this and do our best to make sure that it does the things we want it to do, and in fact, it should be getting more resources rather than less, but that's an argument for another day.
We're going to do our best to get this voted on soon, but we can't vote till all the people who want to speak have had a chance to speak, so Mr. Hernandez is next.
Members of the council, I wanted to rise to say something new, if I may. You know, there seemed to be a disconnect between what was happening with the LA Bridges program and the Controller's Office's report. And what I want to remind us about was that there was basically a 3-year-old who was shot in my district called Stephanie Kewen. And what happened is, basically, intergovernmental task force was put together, the county, the city. I mean, every politician wanted to show up and say they're going to do something about it. And this council put together an ad hoc committee that basically also put together a task force that went through a tremendous amount of hearings and developed the Bridges program. Now, the reason I bring that to your attention is in my district, I've been very fortunate because of that shooting and the national attention it got to have 2 task forces. One was a Bridges program that was working at Nightingale Junior High School and at Burbank, and the second one was a CLEAR program. Now, CLEAR was LAPD, probation office, the sheriffs. It included basically the city attorney and the district attorney. And the linkage of them, they came up with, for example, a Safe Passages program, a 100 mural program, and worked very much with the Bridges program. Now, the reason I'm bringing it to your attention is because the Controller's Office, one of their chief criticisms was that there was no linkage between Bridges and law enforcement. And that wasn't true at Nightingale and at Burbank. However, it is true in other parts of the city. You see, Berendel Junior High School, where we actually started the first collaborative after the civil unrest, we had to find additional funding to provide a probation officer. And that probation officer is Robert Sines, who we all know because of his work with the Commission on Children, Youth, and their families. But schools throughout the city that have Bridges programs do not have probation working with them, do not have LAPD working with them, do not have the sheriffs, do not have the district attorney, and do not have the city attorney. I bring that to your attention because there was a commitment after that child was killed. And that was for the county and the city to work together. And we need to bring that kind of collaboration back together so that the controller is not critical of the lack of linkages. But you cannot blame the agencies that are doing the human service work for not having a relationship with law enforcement if law enforcement is not making that same commitment. And so I just want to bring it to your attention because when Mr. Wax says they need more resources, as a city, we can coordinate with LAPD, we can ask the county to work with us more with probation, and we can ask the district attorney and the city attorneys to make programs like Bridges a priority. Thank you. I just thought I'd say something new.
Mr. Ridley Thomas is next, but has asked to close. Ms. Goldberg also wants to be heard. So, Ms. Goldberg, you're up first.
Okay. Yeah, I too just wanted to say that I am happy to have made the motion, but more importantly, that I do believe that the notion that keeps getting repeated in one of the major metropolitan newspapers, that this is a seriously flawed program, cannot just be allowed to float out there in the nethers. There are some programs that are not functioning as well as others. There are some that need more support. There are some that need technical support. And God knows everybody can learn to do everything better, including working in these large collaboratives. But I think it is a terrible injustice to leave on the floor somehow the notion that fundamentally this program is not working, because that has not been the experience of CD13, and as I've talked to many of you, it's not been the experience of many of you. I do support the idea that we need to provide assistance and technical assistance where it's needed, and to make sure that our monitoring is appropriate. But these programs have been running for only a couple of years, and to have already had an impact on the number of suspensions in the school, to already have had an impact on the communities to the extent that we had parents and I only listened to the tape, but that Councilmember Misikowski heard that parents and children came and talked about talking to each other for the first time in years, or having some communication with one another, to the extent that I went to the FRC in one of the collaboratives serving my district and heard parents and children talking about having, for the first time, a stability in their family. I don't understand how anybody could argue that this program is anything but successful. Can we make it more successful? Yes. Do we have a responsibility to make sure that every taxpayer dollar that goes to it is the most efficiently spent? Yes. But I really take serious disagreement with anybody or any agency or any newspaper that tries to give the public the impression that basically we have a failed program out there, when I do not believe that's the case.
All right. Mr. Ridley Thomas to close.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the council. It's a matter of pride with which I stand to encourage and urge a unanimous vote to override the mayor's veto. When we began our deliberations on the matter of youth at risk, no one was under the impression that it would be easy. No one said it would be simple. No one said that it would be perfect. We said that we had a responsibility to face a fundamental issue of the quality of life and the extent to which young people in our communities were at risk. We have stepped up to the plate. We are committed to continuing that effort so that we can look at these young people in the face, in their eyes, and say, we will not abandon you at a time that you need us most. I urge a unanimous vote.
All right, let's get on with it. Wait, now we're going to do it. Hold on, guys. Now we're going to do it. All right, open the roll on item 34. A yes vote, the motion is to override. A yes vote is to override. A no vote is to uphold the veto. Open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote. That is unanimously overridden. Congratulations. Keep up the good work. Next item.
Item number 7, called special by Councilmember Holden.
Mr. Holden, you called item 7 special. Item 7, Mr. Holden. Could you push the
somebody's
speaker
going to
thing,
explain
please?
item 7, Madam
All
Chair,
right.
because I don't know why it would be beneficial for us to pass up the nearest hospital to go to Kaiser when, depending on the condition of the patient.
All right, so we need a staff report on this. We have actually 2 different reports before us, 7A and 7B. All right, Mr. Feuer previously moved 7B, so that's what's before us. Do we have any staff here? If we don't, we're going to hold it on the desk.
We do.
We do, all right. Could you
We have
please
flyer
come
here.
up to the table here and explain this item? Go ahead.
William Wells, Captain Paramedic with the Fire Department. Depending on the needs of the patient and depending on the specialty of the hospitals, we don't always transport to the closest facility, such as trauma centers, pediatric centers, and we also attempt to honor patients' requests to where their doctors are, to where their insurance will pay, such is the case for Kaiser. That if there are choices, and there's about 60 different hospitals that we take patients to in the city, 5 of them are Kaiser facilities, that we would attempt to take the patient to where their needs can be taken care of the greatest. And when there's a choice and when there's a possibility, then we attempt to honor the patient's request and take them to where their doctor is.
So is it correct then to assume that this would allow you to take patients to Kaiser, but it would not require that you take them to Kaiser?
It does not require. The fire department would have the overriding say as to what the patient's real needs are.
Okay.
But of all things being equal and possible, that we would attempt to take them to the Kaiser facility where their doctor is.
If they're a Kaiser patient?
Yes, if they're a
Yes,
Kaiser
all right.
patient.
So if they're not a Kaiser patient, you wouldn't take them to Kaiser?
We would take them to the appropriate facility, which
Right.
could still be Kaiser. But this is a request to continue our contract of what we have been doing, and that is taking patients to where they would like to go,
Right,
including
right.
Kaiser
I
patients.
just wanted to make sure this is permissive, not compulsory. Mr. Fewer?
Yeah, thank you, Madam President. Yeah, this matter came both through the Public Safety and Budget Committees. In both committees, it was unanimously approved. As was stated, it's a renewal of an existing arrangement. I have amending motion 7A on the desk, which is a technical amendment required because of some changes in a negotiation with Kaiser over the fund into which the revenue goes. I urge that we adopt 7 as amended by 7A.
All right, so the motion before us is 7B off the agenda
That's
as
right.
amended by
7A that was
7A that
distributed.
came in today.
Thank
All
you for the
right.
clarification.
Okay, Mr. Holden?
Yeah, my concern is that Kaiser is going to give us $100 per patient. Is that what we're getting, Mr. Fuhrer? To transport a patient to Kaiser, whether they're members of the Kaiser plan or not. Is that correct?
No, it would only be if they are a Kaiser member.
If they're a Kaiser member,
The Kaiser Health Plan will pay for it and not the patient.
okay, just to make sure they go there.
Right, Kaiser would like to see their own patients at their own hospital the first time we transport.
Well, then what's if the patient is not conscious and cannot make the decision as to where they like to go, then per this agreement, you take them to Kaiser.
No, it doesn't say that we shall take them to Kaiser every time. If they're unconscious, if they need serious help at a trauma center or something like that, this doesn't say that we take them to Kaiser every time. There are lots of different
It may
parameters,
not
mainly
be
medical.
a person who's traumatized. May not be a situation like that. What I'm saying, I don't want to put the person's recovery or health at risk by trying to make some money and put the dollar value on whether or not they're going to recover quickly or not recover at all. You know, sometimes the reason why you have a paramedic program because by their being there on time, we can save lives. And we've been accused of driving by one hospital going to another, and then they die because they didn't get the emergency service at that level that they needed at that time. And what you're saying is that let's do it for money. The city will recoup how much money if we do it this way?
We've done it this...
$285,000 in revenue on average they would give us if we take the patient there every time. Is that correct?
We've done this plan for 1 year already. This is an extension, and what we've done is been on the patient's needs, not on Kaiser's or the dollar needs.
So who make that decision? You guys make that
The
decision?
paramedic in the field makes that decision.
So if they make the wrong decision, who gets sued?
The paramedic in the base station.
The Kaiser or the city of Los Angeles? If the family member can say, you made the wrong decision. You passed up 2 or 3 hospitals and you went to Kaiser, and my mother and my father and my child died. Who gets sued?
The decision on whether to go to Kaiser or not is based on the patient's medical needs, not on this contract.
But are those emergency medical people, doctors, physicians, do they call in and
Yes, they call.
get all the vital signs and they say, where should we go?
Yes, besides the patient's or the paramedic's recommendations, it's ultimately the medical doctor at the base station that determines the medical control of the destination of
The
the
doctor at the
patient.
base station does not work for the city of Los Angeles.
No, but they listen to the paramedic.
So
that does.
therefore, if we assume...
Mr. Holden, you've
we use-
expired.
We use that, what'd you say?
You've expired.
You mean my time has?
Uh-huh.
Otherwise,
I knew I'd get your attention. that
Otherwise,
way,
you're
though.
looking at the second coming.
That's it. Mr. Burnson.
Yeah, members of the council, this is a very simple thing that gives the person who is going to be hospitalized the opportunity of going where they want first or to Kaiser, whichever they happen to choose. I know I had a situation with my mother-in-law, may she rest in peace, a few years back when we didn't have this kind of arrangement, and she was taken to a hospital. She was a Kaiser patient, was taken to a hospital who I will not mention close by in my district, and laid there in a gurney for hours until we could finally get an ambulance to come from Kaiser and pick her up, where she got immediate attention. So this basically is not about dollars, Mr. Holden. This is about giving people the opportunity to go where their doctor is. If you have those at Kaiser have a regular doctor, and they have a very attentive emergency room, or if they don't, if it's someplace closer that they don't belong to Kaiser, they can go wherever they choose or wherever they make the decision. But if they say they want to go to Kaiser, my doctor's there, they'll take them. Or if they want to go to another hospital that's closer, or wherever it may be, they'll take them. Is that clear?
That is correct. The
Okay.
patient has the say also.
So this is basically open and shut. I would urge an aye vote.
Well, it's not open and shut yet. Mr. Holden wants to be heard again. Mr. Holden.
Mr. Bernstein, you did not know this, but this is the facts and the way it worked. Your mother-in-law stayed there in that hospital because Kaiser did not authorize them to treat her.
That's not true.
Well, I'm telling you,
That's not
Kaiser wants all those patients.
That is not
And when they're stabilized, they says, get them to Kaiser's ASAP, so Kaiser don't have to pay the private hospital for the services that are rendered to the patient. Isn't that right, sir? Isn't that, the Kaiser have to reimburse those hospitals, is that correct?
I cannot speak for Kaiser.
Well, you know that, come on. No, you're speaking for it or not, just tell what the truth is. Yes or no?
I'm not familiar with that question.
Well, who is familiar? What about you, sir? Are you familiar with it?
No, I'm not. Ray Serrano with the City Administrative Office.
Well, you should know. Maybe I won't give you any more assignments. Take risk management from you, too. You don't know anything. Tell me what the answer is, and you do know that. Come on, Bill, tell them. They have to reimburse.
Yes, they would if it's considered of an emergent nature. They
That's
would have
right.
to
It's the-
reimburse.
And if they take you to the closest hospital, it's an emergency, and you should be treated, unlike what happened to Mr. Bernstein's relative. The fact of the matter is that, and Kaiser has to reimburse them. And the reason why Kaiser they want you to come to the Kaiser hospital, and you should know that, you work in the CAO's office. Don't act like you don't know anything. You won't get any more assignments. The fact of the matter is that that's why they want this program intact. You can go buy a hospital, jeopardize the safety and health of the patient. I'm going to vote no on this. This is baloney.
Mr. Savornich.
The previous question on the entire matter.
Mr. Savornich has moved the previous question. Is there any objection to the previous question? Seeing none, debate is closed, and the item is before us. Open the roll. I've already lost track of 7, right? Open the roll on item 7, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes, 1 no.
That is approved. Thank you. Moving right along, we come now to item 14.
Item 14 calls first by Councilmember Miskowski.
All right, we also have some cards on this, although I believe hearings have, 2 cards have been held. So if I don't hear a motion for a hearing, we're not having another hearing. Ms. Mizikowski, and could you push the speaker thing?
I would like to invite the staff to come forward, and members of the council had ordained a drafting, or had requested a drafting of an ordinance, and this is to set up the process for the new area planning commissions, the new citywide planning commission, and which functions which way. At the last minute, there was some, I guess I'll call it snag, and maybe we should have the city attorney, Claudia Cullen, come forward as well, as to some clarification about the process and to whether or not we were going to be avoiding one hearing in a process, how the processes were going to go. And both Plum, the Planning and Land Use Management Committee, and the Ad Hoc Committee on Charter Implementation looked at this with the city attorney's advice. Although there are 2 separate recommendations, I think that the one that is most consistent with the council's previous action is the Ad Hoc Committee on Charter Implementation Report, and I think technically the committee report as it was referred from Planning and Land Use Management didn't correctly reflect what the Planning and Land Use Management Committee had requested. But let me ask for the staff to clarify, because I think the best way of resolving this is, 1, we need to adopt an ordinance soon, because July 1st we have a new day beginning. And I think what we should do is adopt the item B, but also bring those items of some concern back for consideration by the department and the city attorney for clarification with both the area planning commissions and the citywide planning commission to see if there are, with a few of these items, a better way of proposing them. But I think if we ask the staff, both Mr. Eberhardt and Ms. Culling, to explain the differences, explain what the city attorney is recommending, what the commission has voted on, and help guide the council in this deliberation.
Let me say the problem, Frank Eberhardt, a member of the Planning Department staff, honorable members, and in reviewing the council instructions, staff was making every attempt to follow them. There were 5 uses which, based on city attorney advice, could not be acted upon in a quasi-judicial fashion by the director of planning. So we came back and brought this issue before the city council to get further guidance on the matter. Those 5 uses are listed under paragraph B, various uses in the OS zone, PF zone, child care facilities, uses that support motion picture television production and motion picture and television studies and ancillary video media production. The Plum Committee voted to take all of those uses with the exception of those relating to motion picture studios and make them zoning administrator conditional uses with guidance as to how the motion picture material would go back to the City Planning Commission for appropriate designation, either to the Area Planning Commission or the City Planning Commission. The ad hoc committee took a different viewpoint on the matter and decided that only non-conforming oil wells should be a zoning administrator conditional use, and that all other matters should be decided by the Planning Commission with appeal to the City Council. Subsequently, the Planning Commission approved what the ad hoc committee action was. That was based on instructions on the ad hoc committee to take it before the Planning Commission. I think the differences are technical. I think there's been a considerable discussion among the council members that we look at this after we get this particular matter handled and bring back some further recommendations to the council, and we would certainly do that. I'd be happy to answer any questions. I've tried to make a complicated matter simple.
Cindy, are you done?
Yes, I am. Unless the city attorney wants to add anything, okay. Then I think I'm making a motion that we approve Rec B, the ad hoc committee report.
Okay, Ms. Goldberg.
I was just going to move it, but since that's already been done, I'll sit down.
All right, Mr. Pacheco.
I just want to make sure that we have a timeline and when we're coming back. Do we put a time limit?
If you'd like to instruct the departments to come back to you with this item within a certain amount of time, we'll be glad to do that.
Okay, I just wanted to go on record on one thing. First of all, it's my opinion at this point, and I haven't heard from anyone on this issue in terms of from the industry, that these issues are really local issues and should be decided by the area planning commissions, but I haven't heard from anyone on either side of this issue. So I'm willing to go along with the staff recommendation, and I believe we should instruct that in 6 months, we'll take a look at it, see how it's working, and see what's going on. But I do want to make that a fixed date of returning to reevaluate this whole position, because I am very concerned as to what impact this may have on our community's ability to basically protect themselves and their life, the quality of life. So if we can do that in 6 months, I appreciate that.
We do have 2 requests from the public to speak, one from the Motion Picture Association and one from representing Universal Studios. So if anybody wants to hear from them, you'll have to make a motion to do that. Mr. Burnson.
I'd like to ask what the difference is, main difference is on the motion picture portion of it. Currently, the Planning Committee motion was for the Director of Planning and the Zoning Administrator to be able to make the decision. Is that correct?
Yes. Yes.
And also on the ad hoc, it would go to the CPC, the City Planning Commission?
Correct.
On a conditional use permit?
Claudia-
appeals to the city council? Is that the difference?
Correct. Claudia Culling, City Attorney's Office. Actually, in either case, the City Planning Commission could make a determination that the motion picture matters are such that they should go to the APC, so it really doesn't
So it would go
technically
there, and then
change.
they can refer it if they wish to the
They could actually take that
APCs.
action. So
And
there's
that
really
would
no
then be
difference.
appealable to the council as well, right?
Yes. under
Okay,
this
so in
code.
any case, we have, so I don't have a lot of problems. I think our two reports were pretty close to the same, and I don't have a problem under those circumstances supporting B.
Mr. Hernandez.
Yeah, I just thought I heard Claudia say this, two things. I just want to make sure. So they're going to the CPCs or the APCs?
The council, the committee action was to have them go to the City Planning Commission.
City Planning Commission, okay, that's what I want to be supportive of. And Madam Chair, I was at a conference where there was a presentation made by our own Entertainment Industry Development Corporation in regards to the impact of basically the entertainment industry in terms of filming in our economy. And it's just a phenomenal impact. In terms of the small businesses, in terms of the jobs that are being created, and what it's doing to this region as an economic engine. And again, anything that we might be doing to, and somehow deter that process should be looked at. But I also understand that what's before us is where they put those studios, where they put those sound stages, how that works, and the evolution of the businesses that surround those kinds of facilities. And as someone who deals with the economic development strategy of the city, I've been able to see the kinds of engines that are created in local communities and the kinds of additional jobs that are being created because of the placement of those studios. So again, if that's what the ad hoc committee's recommendation is in 14B, then I'd be supporting that.
Ms. Goldberg.
Yes, I just wanted to be clear, because of what you said, I wasn't going to speak because I thought I understood it. But in B, it goes first to the APC, or goes first to the CPC, to the Citywide Planning Committee.
Appealable to the City Council.
And then it can go directly to council from there.
Correct.
Okay. In A, it would start at the ZA. If it was to be appealed, it would go to the APC, and then it would go to the city council. Is that correct?
No, actually, I think the Planning Committee's recommendation was that it go to the City Planning Commission for determination of whether it should be an APC or CPC hearing, and then it was appealable to the council.
We were told in committee, in that, now what I'm talking about committee was the ad hoc committee, that it couldn't go from a ZA to the CPC.
Correct.
It had to go to the APC.
Right, the ZA is not a part of this.
No, but it
What
would be
Plum
an A.
did. No, that's not what
In
Plum did.
neither case.
In neither case.
Okay, so now I'd like you, so that I don't get confused, tell me how it would work if it went to A, and then tell me how it would work if we did B.
Okay. You want to do it?
Actually, what you have is that the charter says that before you can designate a matter going to the Area Planning Commission or the City Planning Commission, the Planning Commission has to decide whether it's City Planning Commission, whether it's a citywide issue, and whether they should handle it as a conditional use. The Plum Committee report directed that the matter go back to the City Planning Commission so they could make that decision. Had the City Planning Commission decided that it was of local significance and then designated it to the zoning administrator, it would have gone to the zoning administrator, appealable only to the APC, not to the City Planning Commission.
Okay.
What you did was say you wanted it to go to the City Planning Commission, now that is the ad hoc committee,
Right.
and that it would be appealable to City Council. The next day, pursuant to your instructions, we took it to the Planning Commission. They said, yes, we agree with the ad
Okay.
hoc committee position.
And that's what's before us.
And that's what's before you.
Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Mizakowski.
The only clarity I wanted to make is that when it was in Plum, I think there was a suggestion that it wouldn't be the City Planning Commission that would decide on each case what to do, but that we were suggesting that the director with the staff divide the issue of the motion picture conditional uses into categories, and those smaller ones that were either smaller additions, smaller projects, more locally oriented, would stay with the ZA and APC, and the large new studio complexes, which does have a citywide impact, would go to the other. But that is the issue, I think, as Mr. Pacheco said, the going with B now, we can revisit the other later and see if there are some that fall more usually in the smaller category that might be more of a focus to the Area Planning Commission and just not burden the CPC. But at this point, I think going with B as presented by the city attorney and the planning department makes sense.
Okay, anybody else? All right. Everybody clear on the motion that's before us? Open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
That is unanimously approved. Forthwith. Next item.
Item number 18, there are two issues. The item number A needs 10 votes for a previously exempted position, and B is an ordinance.
All right. Does anybody wish to speak on item 18? We're going to do them as two separate votes. We'll start with item 18A. Open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
That is approved. Item 18B, which includes the ordinance. Open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
That is unanimously approved. Forthwith on that, please. Next item, 24.
Called special by Councilmember Wax.
Mr. Wax.
I'm sorry, what number?
Item 24. We also had a card.
I think I've got this all clear. I just want to, is this consistent in all respect, consistent with our prior actions for how this money should be spent? Okay, I just wanted to make sure that we were doing that, and I mean, they all look like good expenditures. I just want to make sure it was within our earlier discussions of how to spend the money. Okay.
Ms. Goldberg.
I'd like to move 24B.
All right. Mr. Hernandez.
Yeah, and I'm in concurrence with that. And members of the council, again, this has been a lengthy process. We've taken previous actions that basically helped fund some of the human service delivery systems that weren't able to get funded through the RFP process. I need to remind the agencies, as well as yourselves, if you get calls because some of your agencies are not funded, that these are one-time funds. And it's designed so that they can continue to provide their programs, but also buy the time to find additional funding. And again, it's been a lengthy process, and I just ask for unanimous vote.
Mr. Burnson.
I just want to make one thing. I want to get a very clear answer. We all spoke up when the mayor wanted to divert this tobacco money for other purposes, for general fund purposes. Excuse me, this isn't the tobacco money?
It's a different one.
This is one-time money.
But it is tobacco money, right?
Yeah, but it's different from the long-term tobacco securitization.
Why is all of this being used for the purposes of abating tobacco use by both children, young people, and adults? Or is it being used to just fund some of our agencies for general purposes?
No. And again, this has been a lengthy process, Mr. Burnson.
Well, I'd like a yes or no to that.
Yes.
Okay. That's all. As long
Okay.
as you tell me yes, that's all.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, what's before us is item 24B. Open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
That is approved.
Forthwith, Madam Chair.
Forthwith on item, whatever that was, 24. All right, next item is item 25.
Called special by Councilmember Svornick.
Mr. Savornich. Would you push the speaker button too, please?
Thank you, Madam President, members of the council. Before us again today is an item to which this council continued from last week, which were to revise the council rules to reflect new censure procedures for the council. And I know last week there was much contentiousness in regards to this issue. And I again would like to stand this week in regards to addressing this issue, that I do believe that what we have before us right now, there are censure provisions in the City Council, and I believe that what we are proposing in this regard is something to which this council member cannot support. I think that anytime that these types of issues can before the city can come before the city council, it can be politicized. This will probably not affect the majority of us sitting here today. Half of us will be gone next year, and the rest of us 2 years later. But I believe that the tone of the discussion that we had last week was a discussion on the right path. I again would like to think that we should leave the censure proceedings as they are now and not adopt this.
Did we get anything new since last time?
No.
All right, Mrs. Chick is up next.
Well, I wanted to explain, thank you, Madam President, to my colleagues why this not only came back quickly, but it came back in the same form that it was here last time. In your implementation committee, reviewing it again and discussing with the city attorney, the devil is in the details. And to come up with a list of behaviors or just a list of things that would not be censurable have the same difficulties as coming up with a list of behaviors that would be censurable. So I just want to remind my colleagues that the ability to censure is in place. There are no rules or guidelines. I support what's before us, and I'm going to vote, just as Mr. Burnson said, we really don't need a lot of discussion. We all know how we're going to vote, just like on the Office of Finance issue. But this puts rules in place, and the process has built-in checks and balances that I have confidence in, creates a process where we will be cautious and thoughtful, and I hope it never happens, and it rarely ever has happened, that there's that kind of disapproval that's been, that anybody has done something that even calls for it. I listened to all of my colleagues' objections and walked out of here feeling that this is a group of people who don't seem to have very much confidence, trust, respect for each other. Colleagues, I ask that we go forward with, I think, the best process and guidelines that can be in place right now. And before I end, I'd like the city attorney to explain to my colleagues what he explained to me in committee in terms of the two ways that we can adopt what is before us. One is as a set of rules. And Mr. Echeverria, if you could refresh my memory and explain that to all of us, that I believe we have a choice in how this can be adopted if we do have the votes to adopt.
Yes, what's before you is a proposal to amend the council rules to incorporate this essentially policy and procedure for the handling of censure motions. You can also simply vote to adopt it as a policy, which could be changed at any time with 8 votes. Or suspended, as opposed to a rule which would take a 2/3 vote to suspend at any time.
So there's a way to adopt these guidelines where would the number of votes we need today change to adopt it as a policy?
Today, it's 8 votes regardless
Okay.
to adopt it.
All right. Well, I'm content with how it's being presented, but I do offer that to those of you who have ongoing concerns, that we can adopt these guidelines as a policy, which makes it easier in the future to change and suspend the rules and not have them in place, correct?
Correct.
8 votes instead of 2/3.
Mr. Pacheco last time suggested, as part of what we referred to committee, that there might be included a list of things that would not be, activities would not be subject to censure. Mrs. Chick, can I assume those were either rejected or not considered? Mr. Pacheco, last time we discussed
It was considered.
It was, all right.
Yes.
We've rejected that. Okay. Mr. Holden.
When I finish speaking, maybe the city attorney ought to explain why they changed the rules. It required 10 votes last time, I believe. And why you not making it 8 votes to be approved? You said under any circumstances it will be 8 votes. Now I'm going to speak because unless you hold my time.
I'll hold your time.
Yes, I need to ask Ms. Weingart for a clarification. Does amendment of the rules require 10 votes, or is it an 8-vote item?
8 votes.
I believe it's 8
Was
votes.
it last time we discussed it, it was 10 votes.
Suspension of the rules would require 10 votes. Once this is adopted as part of the rules.
Okay.
That was the
then,
statement.
all right, then on my time, let me just say that This is political, can be very serious. Best of my recollection, there were some council persons. Mr. Wax has been around for a long time. So, Mr. Wax, did they do this to Art Snyder? They did. And they generated opposition to the extent where they caused 2 recall attempts on Art Snyder. He beat him each time. And it's because he didn't, I guess, kowtow to some of the members of the council, even the mayor at the time. He became a target. They went after him over and over again. And they couldn't defeat him, so later on he decided not to run for re-election. And Alatorre took his position, took his seat. But it's just a clear example of how politics can play and destroying or attempting to destroy a person's career. He was the only Republican on here at the time. Maybe Joe Wax was one at the time also. I'm sorry, Joe. He's an independent. And you were not on at that time, were you? No, not when. Okay, so the fact of the matter is that I'm saying that it's in the eyes of the beholder whatever truth is, or whatever you consider to be right. Okay, and in one person's eyes, they're saying that's wrong. Another person's eyes, they say give the person a chance. But if they're going to play politics on the issue, and they will, nothing will say that they won't, then you can almost guess what the ultimate outcome will be. I would personally, if somebody's going to introduce a censure motion, do it right now, over and done with, and you move on. But you're going to let it linger, drop the water on top of your head, drill a hole, and let it go on and on and on until they can build some momentum, like in the Art Snyder case, to get the signatures to try to cause a recall. And then what happened? You're having another election with the newspapers helping in that regard. I just don't think it's the right thing to do. I would say that half of the members of this council will not be here next year. Some of them I'm going to miss, and some of them I won't miss. But I can tell you, it's called good riddance. But I would say to you that I think that let the new council take care of what they want their rules are, and they can decide that each time that they're elected. We should not decide for them. There will be a new council.
Mr. Fuhr.
Jean, I don't know. I'm going to miss you. Don't laugh on my time. I'm rising in support of the committee chair's recommendation to us for essentially the reasons on the table. The code of conduct is in the charter. The only question is whether it is before us with rules associated with it or no rules associated with it. By my lights, the likelihood of the process being abused is heightened dramatically if there are no rules. So I think the rules are a good idea. The rules that are adopted or proposed for adoption actually mirror rules that are in place elsewhere. I know there was a discussion last time on the floor about whether we should define the kinds of things that couldn't be the basis for censure. One such proposal on the table, I think, was that invocation of First Amendment rights not be a basis for that. But that gets really complicated here, and I think that there's a reason why in no other jurisdiction that has been identified by the City Attorney or the Ethics Commission is there a specific delineation of the precise kinds of conduct that can or cannot give rise to any sanction under a code of conduct. And that's because it is really a bad idea, actually, to define those with any specificity. One could imagine in the free speech realm, for example, someone standing up and saying something that was more than offensive, but that would truly constitute hate speech, nonetheless be fully protected by the First Amendment and yet evoke a strong reaction from council members. So I think we should have rules rather than not have rules. I think the protections of those due process guidelines are actually beneficial to us and more likely militate in favor of the rare and judicious use of this measure than against it.
Ms. Goldberg.
Well, I think that I'm going to support this today, too. I think that it will always be political. There's no doubt about that. Sometimes it will be political, and it will be something that has happened that's so egregious, everybody will agree that there should be a censure, and that'll be that. More often than not, it will be some way that somebody has done something that has irritated his or her colleagues, and his or her colleagues will want to exact a pound of flesh for that, and they'll do a censure. In either case, I don't think the outcome will be much unless the public cares about it. And since the public will be the final arbiter of it, it's good to have some process in place. And I'm going to vote for this as an appropriate process, with all of the misgivings that all of us mentioned before. But I don't think that it is a big issue, because I think the final analysis, the public will decide whether it was an important thing to do or not an important thing to do. And we have an opportunity to weigh in or not weigh in, depending on what's going on amongst the colleagues at the time.
Mr. Hernandez.
Ms. Goldberg said something about extract a pound of flesh, and all I know in my sobriety, I've gained over 100 pounds. You know, members of the council, I'm going to support this. And I want to tell you why I'm going to support it. When I had my problem, clearly that did not stop Mr. Fuhrer and Ms. Chick and Mr. Savornich and Mr. Alarcon, Mr. Burnson from expressing their opinion. And I honestly believe that they had the right to express that opinion. Clearly what I did was not right. It didn't stop the LA Times from, on 7 occasions, asking me to resign. They had the right to express their opinion. And the reality is, so did my constituents, so did a lot of people. But it also didn't stop a lot of my colleagues from supporting me and expressing their opinion. You know, I thank my God each day that I'm still here and I get to do my job sober. But at the same time, you know, I asked the question of, you know, does this stop us from censoring the mayor? Does it stop us from censoring the city attorney? Anybody else who's an elected official, the governor? It doesn't, you know, again, we're adopting some rules for ourselves. And I just want to point that out, that as public officials, we have a right to express an opinion when something is agreeable to us or disagreeable to us. Here we're setting up some rules just for us. And I think that's touchy-feely good stuff. We want to feel good that we have a rule. And the reality is, you know, again, I'm not here to fight it. I think I created part of the discussion because of my actions, and I think people had the right to express their opinions one way or another. Again, I just wanted to let everybody know, I think, again, it's not going to change the realities of how we react to activity. You know, some people, and I know I could vote no, or I could vote yes. On this one, because I stimulated a lot of discussion, I think I'll just go with the group.
Mr. Burnson.
Members of the council, it's easy to go along with the group, you know, just to go along. But this is something that is not going to be productive for this council and future councils. It's something that will be negative, and it will provide a means of demeaning this council and individual members and lowering the prestige of it. If somebody does something so egregious that they should be censured, it won't be necessary for this council to do it. The press, the media, and the public, and the constituents they represent will do the censoring, and that's as it should be. For us to put something like this in place only opens the door for petty-type activities. As far as speaking out, even though I regret that I did what I did with you, Mr. Hernandez, because I didn't use my good judgment at the time. And I've regretted it ever since, because you've become a very good councilman. But I'm going to tell you that we do have the right to speak out anytime we wish. We have the ability to do it individually. And We don't need to do something like this. We have the ability to say that we think that somebody is out of order, whether it's on an issue, whether it's on behavior, or whether it's on something criminal. And I think that's sufficient. And I'm not going to be stampeded into going along with this because I do not think that this is going to be productive for the future of the city or of this city council.
Mr. Wax.
I think Ms. Goldberg has sort of made the most telling point. I had misgivings of this last time. I expressed them and I opposed it because I thought it could be abused. But as I began to think about it and then my own history here, I think if it's abused, you can turn it, it really does come to how the public views it. And if it's abused, you can turn it into a badge of honor. You can make it an issue that can work for you if it's done for the wrong reasons. Now, the public, and it'll be uncomfortable for a while, but I think that you can turn that around. On the other hand, if the public is not with you, and it is so egregious, you're going to pay the price whether this council censors you or not either. You know, the legislature hasn't censored Quackenbush, but the guy's going to be out of office, hopefully, because he did wrong. And it eventually will come home to roost on him, whether or not he's censored by his colleagues or not. I think it could be abused. I really do. And I guess in the last analysis, it's going to be up to us to whether we're going to abuse it and whether or not, if it is abused against us, we're strong enough to fight it and prevail in public opinion. This is one of these things. It was really interesting how the Times jumped against things that Ruth and I said and all, we're whiners and all of this. This is one of these things that somehow if you vote for this, it's a test of whether you're good or bad and all that, and that's nonsense. I think that the concerns expressed were genuine. The ACLU and Coalition for Freedom of Expression expressed to me that they thought our concerns were well put and that they were well intentioned. On the other hand, I could go either way on this. I'm tending now to go forward because it does have rules to do something you could do without rules now. There's nothing to stop you from anyone from doing this with the rules as well as without the rules. To wit, we have done it before, and it could be done again in the future. But I think we're really deluding ourselves to think that somehow this is the litmus test of how good we are or how bad we are or who has values and who doesn't have values. I think the concerns expressed are real concerns because they in fact have happened in the past, and we can foresee them. But I think in the last analysis, Ms. Goldberg is right in the sense that if you're right and you stand up for it, you will prevail, although it may be painful. But sometimes that has a way of coming back. I know that there are things that I've done that I got criticized for, but by sticking to it, it is now redounded to my benefit. And I think that all of us have to just approach it in that way if and when these things happen.
Mr. Savornich.
You don't know how comforting it is to be on the same side of an issue with the ACLU, from my perspective. But the question that I do have for someone, maybe Mrs. Chick, maybe you, maybe Mr. Deaton, in regards to the procedures which we are proposing today versus currently what the council can utilize in regards to censoring a colleague, I'd like to know what the actual difference is versus what is in place now versus what we can adopt today in regards to these procedures or guidelines, which would make an action next week different from an action that we would take today if a censure item was before us. City Attorney, if that's...
I'd be glad to answer that. Claudia Culling, City Attorney's Office. Right now, you could, with 8 votes, adopt a motion of censure.
For any reason?
For any reason.
Don't like my tie, don't like my suit, don't like my shoes, we're going to censor you. There it is.
That's true. You have that
Rotten
ability
jokes.
now, and there is no limitation. In the charter,
And the new one?
In the new charter, first of all, the standard, although we've discussed whether this is clear enough for everyone, the standard is a gross failure to meet the highest standards of personal and professional conduct, number one, and number two, you need a two-thirds vote.
And so right now, it is censure can happen for any reason with 8 votes.
Correct.
Versus what is proposed, it has to be what is articulated there in the new charter with 2/3 votes.
Correct.
So as I'm listening here, there needs to be a greater burden of proof to be the subject of censure under what is before us than what is currently in place. Correct?
If I understood your question, you're saying that because there's two-thirds vote and there is an actually articulated standard, that's a higher burden, and that's correct.
There has to be a higher burden of proof to censure under what is before us than...
Under what's before you, I'm sorry, under the procedures,
what is before us than was currently in law.
Yes, correct.
Well, one never says that one doesn't learn something when they listen to their colleagues debate.
Why couldn't you think that?
So this, point of order, let me just add, so as it stands under the new charter, it takes 8 votes?
No, under the new charter, it's two-thirds vote.
Two-thirds vote.
And
But
today, it could be 8
what's before us,
votes.
it takes what?
And what's before you is the two-thirds vote. These procedures were written to be in compliance with the new charter.
So it's no matter what happens, it's two-thirds vote?
If you don't vote on anything about censure, the charter still allows you to censure a member of the council with a two-thirds vote.
Okay, and if we vote for this, it's a two-thirds vote either way, right?
It's two-thirds vote either way.
Well, that makes it clear for me. I don't need either one.
You're right, Ed, on my time. That's the point I'm making. You really don't need it. The only thing you do now, you have a mechanism in place where you can really embarrass somebody. That's all it is right now. That's what it's designed for. Now let me just tell you that with this mechanism in place, be assured that a person is going to introduce a motion and get a second. It'll go to committee, it'll stay there, and they'll beat the hell out of you as long as it's in committee. All right? And I'm sure in my case, or in one of my colleagues' case, we'd have at least 5 people who would have signed such a motion under pressure, some under duress, to make sure that happened. And while it sat over there in committee, they would have been beating the heck out of them every day saying what they're going to do once it comes to council. It would not even let up. I don't want to make that possible. And so therefore, I'm going to vote no. Before I sit down, though, however, I want to congratulate one of my colleagues who's got more guts than anybody I've seen in this area, in this arena, since I've been in politics, who took on just about the world that was about to cave in on him. And that's 1,000 days ago. 1,000 days. I don't think that anybody could ever boast of that. And I'm going to give Mr. Hernandez a big hand right now, and I hope you guys will join me in doing that. 1,000 days.
Thank you, Mr. One, but I only make 1,000 days if I could stay sober the rest of today and wake it till tomorrow morning, so, but I'm working on it.
Congratulations. Mr. Ridley Thomas.
Madam President, Mr. Holden asked for a motion. I'm delighted to give him one. I move the previous question.
All right. Is there any objection to the previous question? Seeing none, the item is now before us. Open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes, 2 noes.
All right. That is approved. Next item. The next item, I believe, is 28, called special by Mr. Fewer. So could you push your...
Yeah, item 28 is a motion from myself, Mr. Holden, and Ms. Goldberg to support legislation by 3 state representatives, Romero, Steinberg, and Kuehl, to expand the legal rights of domestic partners. It relates in particular to the provision of medical decisions, inheritance of property, and incapacitation rights. I actually like to see, is the CLA here on this issue to come forward for a second? Mr. Karch? Yeah. No, the only reason I wanted to call this special, Mr. Karch, is this. Mr. Holden wants a couple amendments to the legislation that's pending in Sacramento. And the communication from his committee reflects the desire for those amendments. One of them, I think, is not something we need to worry about, and that's to assure that the children of a partner are not adversely affected upon separation and or the death of a partner. I think, Mr. Karch, you believe that's covered in the bill already, correct?
My opinion it is, but I couldn't get a definitive answer.
All right, but even if it's not, the support is not contingent on a separate amendment under the communication, Mr. Holden, correct?
Yes.
All right. The other amendment is to assure similar protections to what is termed, I think, Mr. Holden, the economically dependent partner if there's a termination of the relationship. Is that amendment germane to any of the bills?
I don't know, that was recommended by the chairman of the committee.
No, it was recommended. I guess, see, here's the thing. I want to get our body on record in support of these measures in a way that doesn't in any manner derail the measures.
Correct.
And that in no manner ask that anything be held up for us and so forth. If we can achieve that unanimously today, and if these amendments don't have an adverse impact on that, so be it. But I want to be sure that we don't inadvertently hamstring our effort to get these things passed. And if these amendments don't do that, or the request for them don't do that, that's fine. Because Mr. Holden, as I understand it, these are, I want to be clear about this though, you are not making, your communication would not make our support contingent on these amendments happening. You are simply requesting that these amendments happen, but the support happens either way. Is that correct?
Well, that's my intention.
Okay, all right.
Well, just to respond to them, is that the chairperson raised the issue of people who may be injured in the severe or domestic partnership, namely the children. I just feel that the children should also be considered, the same as the children today and whatever marriage or partnership will exist between two parties. And I don't see anything wrong with that. I think we all can agree that that's what we do now in just about in every case. Then the next thing is that if there's a dependent partner, I don't see anything wrong with that either.
Okay, that's Mr. Fewer's time, and I haven't called on you yet.
I'm sorry.
You come up after two other people.
Oh, okay.
Then I'll call on you. Mr. Savornich.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the council. I remember a debate not too long ago where I was one, if not one of two council members that when an issue regarding the support or not support Prop 22 was before us, I was one of those council members who said because of one's faith, I had a hard time being able to oppose Proposition 22, but I wanted to stand before this body today and say that I am in support of these three bills. One of the things to which I think we all have to realize that regardless of what has happened in the past, I think these are just three bills that address basic human dignity, and I'm prepared to support them today.
Ms. Goldberg.
Well, some of us think marriage has that same human dignity issue, but it's not before us today. What's before us today are the legal rights of registered domestic partners, and I support the communication as it's written, so long as what we're talking about is supporting these bills, seeking amendments, but supporting them regardless of those amendments come or not. And that's the position that's before us, and I support it, and think the amendments that are being sought would be good. I doubt that we'll get them, but I think they're appropriate. Particularly, I think the idea to assure protections to an economically dependent partner is an excellent one. It doesn't happen now, and that would be great.
Mr. Holden, now it's your turn.
I would just say that nothing like a unanimous vote. If we got it, then we'll go with it. And I just thought it was a good idea to do it this way. And if you're going to give protection to partners, give protection to partners. I ask for an aye vote. Can I get a unanimous vote?
Well, not until two more people take their turns here. Mr. Ridley Thomas. All right, and Mr. Burnson was going to do the same thing, so that if there's no one else wants to be heard, the matter is before us. Open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
Unanimous vote. Forthwith. Next item, item 32, called, where did item 32 come from? That's not on my list here. That's the closed session, right, we're
35
holding
called
that.
special by
Item 35 was
Councilmember
called
Goldberg.
special by Ms. Goldberg. And we have,
Yes, I called 35 special. I'd like to move that we, this is 35, that we receive and file item number 35.
all right, we have a motion on the desk.
I know.
That was Ms. Goldberg. Mr. Pacheco is next.
I was just simply going to say we have a speaker who wanted to be heard. Mr. Weinberger is here. I would move to give him an opportunity to be heard at this time. I know we've had a public hearing, but I'd like to extend that courtesy to Mr. Weinberger.
Is there any objection to, is 3 minutes enough, since he's the only speaker?
Yes.
Is there any objection to a 3-minute public hearing? Mr. Weinberger.
Thank you, members of the City Council. I'm William Weinberger. I was a member of the elected Los Angeles Charter Reform Commission, and I'd like to read into the record a letter from our chair, Erwin Chemerinsky, that was addressed to Mayor Reardon and Council President Ferraro.
We've actually all received it, unless it's a different letter, and I read it this morning.
It's a May 16th, 2000 letter?
Yes.
Okay. In addition to the reasons that Mr. Chemerinsky stated in his letter for repealing for voting in favor of repeal, when the Charter Commission considered the issue of governing body, we realized that there were certain requirements under state and federal law for the governing body of the City of Los Angeles to do certain things, and we realized that sometimes, depending on what the requirements were, the governing body would be the City Council, and sometimes it would be the mayor, and it would be appropriate not to have a specific reference in the administrative code or in the charter as to what the governing body of the city was, and to do it on a case-by-case basis. I fully agree with our former chair's comments in his May 16th letter, and I think it's necessary that that the ordinance repealing that administrative code section be adopted, and I would urge the members of the council to do so. Thank you.
Thank you. That closes the public hearing on item 35. The motion before us, does anybody in the council want to be heard? All right. The motion before us is to receive and file this item. Open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
That is received and filed. Next item is item 36, called special by Ms. Goldberg. And there is a 36A introduced by Mr. Holden and myself. Ms. Goldberg?
Yes, I'd like to ask the city engineer to come forward. And I'd like to also get just a report on what this does and what the amendment does, but I'd like to also hear from the city engineer on their views on this matter. And could you hold my time?
I am holding your time.
Thank you.
Good morning. Well, it's not morning.
Good morning, good afternoon, members of the council. I testified in front of the Ad hoc Committee on Charters because I saw an opportunity to improve the way we do business in the Department of Public Works. Under current requirements, we must bring any contract that lasts longer than 3 years to the council for approval. In reviewing the proposed charter amendments, I noticed that the proprietary departments had a 5-year requirement. It also struck me that many of our major contracts, such as libraries and zoos, the consulting contracts that we give invariably last 4 years or thereabouts, and therefore we are required to come to council. Council winds up giving 2 approvals, once when funding is approved, and then again when the contract is approved. So I ask that this be changed to make it a 5-year requirement. This would wind up saving 4 to 8 weeks on every major project that we do by consultant services, and therefore I requested the amendment.
And the ordinance that's before you reflects that amendment. The committee approved it, and we've incorporated it.
All right. Well, we're still on Ms. Goldberg's time here.
No, so would you tell us what is before us and what the effect the amendment would have that's before us?
Yeah, what's before you is an ordinance which contains that amendment, which, except for the changes that the charter requires, maintains the policy decisions you've made in the past with respect to long-term contracts, and that is contracts which are longer than 3 years must be approved by the council before they can be effective, with the exceptions, for example, of contracts with other governmental entities or contracts for purchasing supplies and materials and the like, which you've accepted in the past. And the charter also exempts, and this ordinance reflects the exemption of contracts for the proprietaries, which are 5 years, longer than 5 years. This ordinance maintains that as well. One area in which the charter has made a change, and is reflected here as well, is that contracts which are for the longer period of time, either 3 years in the one case for council control departments, as we refer to them now, or 5 years for proprietary departments, must be approved, must be submitted to the council. And under the current charter, there is no time limit for the council to act. Under the charter, as goes into effect July 1st, the council will have 30 days to act, or they're deemed approved. For long-term contracts, this ordinance reflects the same time limit for departmental, council control department
But
contracts.
we have Amendment 36A before us, and I want to know.
My understanding is that that's withdrawn.
Okay, that was my concern.
Correct.
Okay. So that's no longer before us.
Correct. There is no ability, because the charter expressly specifies 30 days for
I see.
proprietary contracts. There's
Proprietary
no ability
contracts, but
to
not
extend
the-
that time.
I'm sorry, I didn't
I'm
hear
sorry,
that.
there is no ability to extend that time because the charter expressly
Okay,
provides
I
30
see.
days time.
All right.
So we
Okay.
can't do this.
So you
Correct.
can't do, you
Correct.
can't do 36A.
Okay.
All right. So this leaves the 3 years in place for non-proprietary departments.
Correct.
Makes it 5 years for proprietary departments.
Correct.
And the city engineer is saying, why not make it 5 years for everybody?
No, I'm saying,
Just,
Oh,
I'm saying,
Just
the
Public
request is
Works.
Public Works construction contracts and the related consulting contract.
and it's not even that broad, it's for capital improvement project contracts.
and is that what,
And
and that is in here?
Correct, that is in here.
Okay, that's what I want to know. So that change is reflected in what's before us, limited to Public Works and limited
Now,
to
Public Works,
capital
capital
improvement.
right.
Okay, and within Public Works. Okay. I just wanted to be sure that I was clear on that, because I had heard pieces of it and never quite got finally what was before us, and even though I've read it, I wasn't sure I understood where we were, and that's all.
You clear now?
Only reason I called it
Okay.
special was
Well,
to make sure
Mr.
what I was voting
Yeah,
on
but you
before
see
I
what you
voted
did
on
now, Mr. Holden wants to speak as well.
Right, I think, Mr. Deaton, you need to give some clarification here about so-called withdrawing of that amendment. The amendment applies to the other departments. They would give us 90 days to review, whereas the charter provides 30 days to review in the proprietary departments. That's fine. And the city attorney did not make that clear. So I think it should be made clear. Would you want to speak to that, Mr. City Attorney? You understand what I mean, don't you?
Yes, it is possible to change it as to non-proprietary
Yeah,
departments.
that's right, for 90 days to
non-proprietary
review.
departments.
I
Correct.
think you still want to have that 90 days, I would think, Ms. Galanter.
Let's see what Mr. Deaton has to say about that, since you asked him as well.
Well, I think that unfortunately, my primary concern was the proprietary departments.
Well,
and
I have some concerns about the proprietaries, too.
And I was told by Mr. Echeverria that I'd extended beyond what the charter said that we
Gee,
could do.
people say that to you all the time, don't they?
Yeah, they try. But in this instance, actually, he showed it to me. And so I had no choice. You could extend the time as for the rest of them. I'm not as, I wouldn't say any longer than 90 days. 60 days would be fine for the rest of the contracts. They're not, that's, quite frankly, it's not been my experience that that's the difficulty. It's more the, I don't want to target too many of the proprietary departments, but they're...
Well, since I have them all in my committee, I'll tell you it is a problem.
But since we
But
can't
it's a
do it-
problem with the proprietaries. If it's not a problem with the council-controlled departments, then I don't think we need to make
Well,
the
they
change.
don't control them anymore.
That's true, but
They don't control them anymore. So I think you could always release them.
Mr. Holden, why don't you move 60 days, and I think that would...
You can release them sooner than 60, sooner than 90 days if you choose to do so. I would say, all right, 60 days is
Okay,
fine.
all right. So item 36A has been changed to, say, 60 days instead of 90 days.
And deleting the latter part. So it's
Deleting
just 60
the
days.
extra extension, and Mr. Ridley Thomas wishes to be heard. Mr. Ridley Thomas moves the previous question. If there is no further objection, nobody else wants to speak anyway, we will open the roll on 36 as amended by the revised 36A.
I'll give you one.
And there'll be a new ordinance next week? What's
We'll
that?
just, no,
They're just changing the
we'll just give
numbers.
them a clean ordinance for publication.
All right.
hopefully we'll get
So
the
let's
votes
open
today.
the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
That is unanimously
Forthwith.
approved.
Thank you.
Forthwith on that, okay.
Thank you.
Forthwith on 35. Okay, item 37, called special by Mr. Holden. Push the speaker
Right,
button, please. Thank you.
Madam Chair and members, the reason why I call it special, I think that we had a big debate not too long ago on risk management. And if the Ethics Commission designated an individual to serve a notice or process, become a process server, there's a risk associated with that, whereas the police department does that right now for us. At least a law enforcement officer serves notice. We, as a city, would be at risk if they serve notice on some hostile individual and if they are subsequently injured. If someone from the Ethics Commission would choose to do that, serve, fine, maybe they should need a law enforcement officer with them. I think you're going to be treading in some new waters here, and it could be a real risk, it could be a real danger, especially if somebody is not a kind recipient of what's being served on them. So maybe the Ethics Commission representative is here, and it's for their safety and concern that I raised the issue. If they would like to respond to the question, I will ask that you hold my time and give them an opportunity to do so, and they're coming forward. No, not that they serve. Otherwise, it wouldn't be before us. They're asking for that. Go ahead.
Good afternoon. Leanne Pelham with the City Ethics Commission. I don't believe the ordinance before you would simply clarify, for purposes of implementing the new charter, that the City Ethics Commission has the authority under the current charter as well as under the new charter to issue subpoenas of its own. So there isn't a change. It's simply a clarification.
You can issue subpoenas right now, Your Honor?
Yes, yes, we
It
can.
says here that the ethics believe that this practice is consistent with the confidentiality and subpoena requirements in the current new charter, even though you are not included, and you want that exemption.
Currently, under the charter that presently exists, we do have the authority to
You do have
issue
the authority to
subpoenas.
issue?
Yes, we do. So this is not a change in that.
So there's no problem?
No, not from our perspective.
Never met anybody hostile yet.
Fortunately not.
Is that?
No, wait, don't. You want to get hostile and try it out? Go.
I want to give another chance to respond to that question, given the context in which we find ourselves. You can answer it again.
All right. Mr. Burnson is next. Mr. Hernandez also wants to be heard. Will you be? Oh, we're having a competition here. All right. In that case, nobody else wants to be heard. And the matter is now before us. Open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
That is approved. Let's do forthwith on that one, too. Next item.
Item 40, called special by Councilmember Burnson.
Item 40, Mr. Burnson.
Yes, members
could
of the
you hit
council,
speaker
this,
button?
I call this special for the purpose of making an amendment. This was a negotiation for a 6-month contract for the APC location at Cal State Northridge. Unfortunately, the site was not available, and there's another site available on that campus, but it's an additional $1,600 for the 6-month period, and I would move as an amendment that we provide an additional $1,600 for the approval of this contract.
Is there any problem, Mr. Feuer's on the phone, is there any problem with, well, hearing none. Yes, Mrs. Walters.
$16,000 a month or $16,000 for the
It's
6 month
$1,600
period?
additional for the 6-month period.
Okay.
Okay. Everybody clear on what we're voting on? Mr. Burnson, it's item 40 with Mr. Burnson's amendment. Open the roll, Close the roll, tabulate the vote.
14 eyes.
That is approved. Moving right along, we have the special meeting. So we'll recess our regular meeting, since we haven't done public comment or the closed session, and convene the special meeting. Please call the roll.
Bernstein, Chick-Fear, Galanter, Goldberg, Hernandez, Holden, Miskowski, Pacheco, Padilla, Lee Thomas, Warner, Schwartz, Walters, Ferraro, 14 members present, a quorum, Madam President.
All right, item 1. Item 1 is...
Item 1 and 2 are both communications from the city attorney and ordinance first reading and their charter implementation ordinances.
All right, this is not the one that's the size of a book, right?
One of them is, yes.
Yeah, but is it this one or the other one?
It's number 1 is.
Now, has item 1 is the one that whole pile of papers under what you're fumbling through there? Has this been to the ad hoc committee?
Actually, the ad hoc committee and the plum committee and the city council had heard this, not seen this, but heard this as policy matters. These two ordinances that you have before you relate to the Department of City Planning. Both make technical changes to the code to achieve consistency with the new charter. The larger one also makes all of the changes you instructed us to make.
Excuse me 1 second, just to make sure. So you're discussing both item 1 and item 2?
Right.
Okay, sorry, go ahead.
As we indicated in our report, the changes mainly involve simplification of the language and process and redistribution of decision-making. We've tried to write all of the changes in plain English, consistent with the council's adopted policy. Because of the constraints of the new charter, some changes were also made to accommodate the limitation in decision-making powers granted to various planning officials. We expect that you want the developers and others in the community to clearly understand how these processes will work and to have a clean transition between the old processes and the new. We therefore recommend that you adopt these ordinances today, and that will permit them to be effective July 1, the date the new charter provisions become operative. And the planning department staff and I are here to answer any questions that you might have.
Doesn't look like you're going to get any questions. Anybody on the council wish to be heard on this, on any of this? Seeing none, let's vote on it. Oh, all right, there you are. All right, Ms. Goldberg.
Is this item 1, 2?
We're doing both 1 and 2.
In the special. When I went to look at the file, it was like that thick. My concern is, and I believe that everybody who tells me that things are just technical, that they mean that. And I have every faith that it is. But sometimes what's technical to one person is substantive to another. And I'm wondering, I want to vote for this today, I don't want to hold it up, but I'm wondering if there could be some description given on a piece of paper of what actually the effects of some of these things are, because I will candidly tell you, it disturbs me ever to vote without having read the stuff, and I have not read this stuff, because I was daunted by the size of the file. And I suspect my colleagues may have not had an opportunity to read it either, but they'll have to... All right, so it's just me. I'm the only one who hasn't read it.
You better watch out on this side of the room. We'll put in a censure motion.
So, be admitting publicly to being the only person who hasn't read the material. And I may need censuring because of my lack of effort in this area. I'm wondering if it would harm anything to hold it till Friday.
Well, actually, we've counted the days, and if you don't act on it today, it won't be effective. It won't be effective on July 1. And in order to have that smooth transition for the community members and for the developers and for the city staff, this was really the last day.
Well,
there's no harm, however, in your coming back.
But it goes into effect, if it goes into effect July 5th instead of July 1st, the harm is probably minimal, yes or no?
I don't know what will happen to the people who are hanging out there on those 5 days. But the changes that you can make, these are ordinances. There are things that you can't change because the charter requires them.
Okay.
There are plenty of opportunities to change them, just as we're going to come back in, was it 60 days on that one issue. We're already beginning a cleanup list. So
right, okay, because I don't even know all the topics that were changed by this.
Well, most of the decisions you made were who makes decisions.
Okay. Most of the decisions are...
Most of the changes you made was who was going to make certain decisions. And so a lot of the changes that we made were moving a use to the proper decision maker,
Okay.
according to your policy.
But I still am going to request some kind of
We could give you a,
very brief summary of the effects of the action.
we can give you a chart. We're working
Okay.
with planning and...
Okay. Because,
Give you a
as I
chart to show
said,
you
we're
what-
talking
who's-
about, in essence, the Constitution, implementing language of the Constitution of the city, and it just bothers me not to have at least read it through once.
I understand.
But having said that...
Okay, Mrs. Chick.
Yeah. Colleagues, I did want to, although I agree it's always better to have things in writing, but I did want to urge that we go forward today because, in fact, what is before us is returning very clearly to the directions that council gave to our city attorney, to planning department, et cetera, the last time this issue was in the full council. And we did two things. One, we wanted consistency in how we were dealing with land uses that we felt had public benefit implications. And the categories were the entertainment industry and low-income or housing shelters for the homeless, and it was drug treatment or substance abuse treatment programs, child care. So I think there had been some back and forth on, do they go to area planning councils, do they go to the citywide? And what is before us is what was discussed, voted on, decided by the council. So I move the ad hoc committee report.
I would just like to say that I appreciate that the city attorney's office is under tremendous pressure and the deadlines are hard to get all this stuff in place. But I really do have a problem with getting something on the day we have to act and being told, if you don't act today, you're going to sort of screw up the whole system. This happens to me in committee all the time, not from the city attorney's office. It happens to me all the time with departments coming in saying that a contract's going to lapse or something's going to happen. But it's really hard to make thoughtful decisions if you're presented with a file that's that thick and told that today's the day that you have to act on it. And I'm not sure what you can do in this particular situation, but it's a real problem. Mr. Holden, did you want to be heard again?
This is my first time.
This is your first time on this issue.
Yeah, on this
I was
issue.
referring to the
It's
day.
my
Go
first
ahead.
time. What if one council person withhold, still going to put it over, is that correct?
If you withhold, it puts it over.
That's right. And the sun's going to rise and set every 24 hours. So nothing's going to change in 4 or 5 days. And there seemed to be some unhappiness, unreadiness. And the request was made to wait until Friday. So you're going to wait until Friday? You're going to wait a week now? Because I'm going to withhold. Ms., how do you feel about it?
Well, I got that you're going to withhold. Mr. Bernstein is next.
I was going to move the previous question, but Nate's statement upon withhold has prompted me to ask him not to do so. I would urge that we move forward with this today. It shows good faith with what we have to do. We have the ability to change this by ordinance, Mr. Holden. I think that I would urge you not to withhold on this, and we should vote on it today. Thank you.
Mr. Hernandez.
I'm also rising to urge Mr. Holden not to withhold. Again, I think the Plunk Committee's gone through also a thorough review of some of these changes and working with staff. It's been coming to us, and we've been working on it on an ongoing basis. And I don't see any changes happening between now and the withholding. So again, we might as well try and meet our commitment to the voters.
I just want to remind you that item 35 was also described to us as a technical amendment. Okay. Well, I think I'm going to leave it up to your superior judgment, Mr. Holden. You decide what you want to do. Open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
That is unanimously approved. Forthwith on both of those. on both 1 and 2. And that, I believe, allows us now to, we've completed the special meeting. Special meeting's adjourned, and we're back in our regular meeting. We have left, I believe...
Public comment?
Public comment, cleaning up the stuff on the desk, and the closed session. So we'll start with, we have a 10-minute public comment period, and I will call people in the order in which the cards, excuse me, Mr. Holden.
Comment, I'd like to make an announcement about the IGR committee meeting.
Good idea, go ahead.
That meeting will start 15 minutes after the council adjourns.
If the council ever adjourns. Mr. Burns?
Yes, I'd like to advise the public that the Planning Land Use Management Committee will meet 10 minutes after adjournment.
Okay. And how will you know that we're adjourned? Because we're going to have a closed session. You'll find out by looking to see if the door's open. All right. First, Ms. Leaning.
Yes, good afternoon. Leaning, Sunland, Tahunga. I trust everyone had a happy Mother's Day this past Sunday. As we know, some on the council are mothers, and everyone has or has had a mother at some time in their lives, which goes without saying. Today I have decided to employ Mr. Candido Mars' tactic. Thank you, council, for the microchips placed in dogs and the fines imposed on breeders for adding to the overpopulation problem. I know the council, in its infinite wisdom, will take an additional step by imposing a fine on dog owners who do not have their animals spayed and or neutered, who do not sell but give the offspring away, because this too aggravates the overpopulation problem. Thank you.
Thank you. Glenn Brown, to be followed by Marcia. I think that says Brown. And then Reverend Tony Pierce. Is Glenn Brown here? Gave up. Marcia Brown? Nope. Reverend Tony Pierce? Okay, that closes the public comment period. I believe our next item is the closed session item. We're going to go into executive session to consider item 32. So will everybody who is not a part of the executive session go out and enjoy yourselves?
Do you wish to clear the desk, Madam President?
While we're clearing the room, we'll clear the desk. Go ahead.
Motions for posting and referral.
Those are posted and referred.
You have 2 excuses on the desk. Councilmember Padilla requests to be excused Friday, May 26th. City business meets council policy.
That is approved.
Councilmember Galanter requests to be excused June 6th, 9th, 13th, and 14th. City business, I need a motion for the 14th.
Ms. Goldberg will move. Mr. Hernandez will second.
That clears the desk.
Okay. We are now, but we're not, the room's not cleared yet. All right, we're on. I believe the desk is clear. Do we have any adjourning motions? Seeing no adjourning motions, we're adjourned. Call the roll, and then we're adjourned. We're adjourned. All right, we're out of here.